The hosts of the Swine Brothers show are not role models. They're not even human. They're complete monsters. The Swine Brothers show is dumb, crude, thoughtless, ugly, sexist, self-destructive, foolish, and a crime against humanity. Some of the things they do would cause a person to get hurt, expelled, arrested, possibly deported. The fact they blatantly ripped this off from another source should be an indicator of their shameless depravity. This extreme and bad taste will offend anyone with a working brain, so listener discretion is advised. If you're still here, welcome to the sewer of the internet.
Listen, kiddies, always remember to put up your landmines in front of your front porch before the mailman
comes. I was looking at I actually lip-synced the entire intro. And no one saw it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Swine Brothers Show, episode 200. It's the 200th episode.
and we're doing nothing special with it.
Yes. You just get a normal episode.
We'll wait another episode to spring it on you to say this is the grand special we've been building up to all this time.
Yep. But you can get in contact with us. You can email questions, comments, and suggestions. Also articles. You can send us articles at Cosmicgodsdie@gmail.com. Facebook is still Swine Brothers, and no, I still don't have access to it, but Jim does. So leave him a message. Tell him how much you hate him and love me, or how much you love him and hate me. And Twitter is at SwineBros666. I am your no longer suffering from food poisoning host, Elliot Lindemood, and as usual, the thing.
I am the Jim, seeing eye mutant.
200. They said it wouldn't get past 6, and actually, if I hadn't met you, it probably wouldn't have gone past 6.
Yeah, you needed someone to hate that wasn't Anarcha.
Well, yeah, everyone hates Anarcha. Jim came on episode 7, and, well, the rest has been pistery.
Pistery.
So yes, I'm no longer suffering from food poisoning, which is why I was somewhat distant the last part of the show. Last time I was attempting not to vomit. I failed, by the way.
Don't shit your pants. That's a game I've lost before. Many times.
I failed.
Half the time it's because I think I got a fart, but it wound up being a huge diarrhea shit that just went down my leg in the middle of a fucking public place. So now I gotta wade through a fucking sea of shit in my pants while I go to the car, hop in, drive home, take a shower, change my clothes, fucking rinse out my clothes I just shit all over the place in, then go back out to the truck, the fucking cleaner, industrial sized, and fucking start cleaning out the shit that leaked out there. The mall can clean up the shit I left on the floor, you know. I've had to do that, and it sucks, and, you know, I actually do feel bad by leaving a shit trail, but what else can I do here, you know? I thought I was going to fart, and it wound up being a huge diarrhea shit. I couldn't help it.
What do you mean, no grand special? I think we just reached grand special status. We're 5 minutes in, we've already got the diarrhea. This is a new low for us.
What? That's something that happens in life.
I know, but...
I mean, I was sitting here talking to people online. It's like, okay, someone posted this one meme that said, you know, you can press this button and you have a 99% chance of winning $1 million or 1% chance of being a girl. So I commented back saying, you know, does that, 1% chance of becoming a girl come with also, youth? Because, my nearly 50-year-old body's falling apart, and I'd really like to be young again when I was all nice and bendable and everything worked properly. I'd settle for a gender swap if I got to be young again.
Yes, and I'm 28, so I wouldn't really care. I'd be fine being a girl, although I'd probably be a lesbian, let's just be honest.
Disgusting. That's just something that would happen,
Well, yeah, but also guys are disgusting.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I agree with the whole radical feminist thing about, men being disgusting and needed to be killed. But, just everything else I just can't agree with. But, and, who doesn't need $1 million? So, and no, actually, Jim, you get your old body, but you're a girl. So,
I don't want that. I can't
or
fucking move.
no, better. You get you're a girl, but you with your nowadays voice. So they see this like kind of cute looking girl. So some
Oh,
random
that would be great. I'd fucking... Hi, I smoke 12 packs of cigarettes a day. Fuck you.
sits birth. Anyway, getting to the meat of the show.
What meat?
Human meat, the best kind.
Oh, God.
You wanted more
I
swine.
mean, it's just gotten a fucking critical mass lately, the number of pitiful people, because I posted that response, and the guy's like, well, thanks for fucking reminding us of our own mortality. Just stop, please. It's like, dude, we're all gonna die someday. Get over it. Okay? Do what you can with life, and then when your time comes, it comes. There's nothing you can do about it. So just roll with it, and try to live as long as you can.
So there's a new Top Gun film out, I hear. I haven't seen it, but I know people who refuse to watch it on a plane because, oh my God, plane crashes or whatever. I read as you were driving down the highway in the middle of the afternoon. I read a book about car crashes.
Yeah.
Which is, you'd think would be the last book you'd ever want to read while you're on the fucking highway, right? Car crashes. And it was a Crash by J.G. Ballard, which is a weirdly, amazingly gripping book about people who derive sexual pleasure from car crashes. I've been trying to get Jim to read it for years. Not for the sexual aspect. It's just a really interesting book. But I read it. Yeah, but yeah, thanks for reminding us. By the way, 50's not even that old, guy. I mean, for
I
you
know.
it is. But
It's going to suck even worse, as I get older, and I know this. I accept it. I just don't like it.
Hey, let me live for 20 more years.
No, you're going to live for 100 more. Dun, dun, dun.
And Ozzy Osbourne still wants to perform.
Oh, God.
Which is amazing, even though his last album in his last 30 years sucked. So...
Well, just remember, okay, we're talking about an old fucking hippie that did all the drugs as a kid. So his brain is as fried as it could ever be, okay? And he's still trying to kick it with that, massively aged body on top of having that fried brain and all the other physical problems that come with doing all those drugs. And, he's barely with it. And should we be so lucky to turn out like that?
I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, and people, well, yeah, but his music sucks these days. I'm like, yeah, it does. But you know what? I can't help but respect him. I mean, he's still
going.
Out there. Yeah. I mean, I respect Keith Richards. I never want to hear the Rolling Stones ever again. I'm sorry. I've heard them enough. But I respect Keith Richards for still doing. I think he's still doing it. I don't know. Maybe he's died in the last 5 minutes. I don't know. But it's kind of funny because Ozzy Osbourne the other day called David Lee Roth, the guy from Van Halen, he called him insane. I'm like, wait a minute. If you're called insane by Ozzy Osbourne, that's bad.
Yeah, it's like whenever Lemmy tells you you have a drinking problem. That was a guy down to fifth a day on a light day.
Or when Lemmy tells
if he says you got a drinking problem, it's bad.
or when he tells you you have a drug problem.
Yeah.
Or when a host of the Swine Brothers says that someone's too negative. I actually said that last night. Getting to the meat of what I wanted to talk about, I actually said that someone was hopelessly negative. And I had to stop. Granted, I was high at the time, but I had to stop and go, did I just say that? I mean,
we're negative, but we're kind of somewhat constructive about it. A lot of it's just, and we have fun with it. But it's not like, oh, wow, the world's doomed. It's like, yeah, the world's doomed. Fuck it. Roll with it. or fight against it. You could choose either. It's great.
This was more about music, and the person in question kept posting. Every time we'd post something, they would say, "Oh, it's not for me," or "Oh, I don't like it," or "Oh, fucking rest in peace is repetitive."
Oh, God.
And
There are so many intricacies within that work, though at least the original. The original pressing. You could hear a lot more in the intricacies. And yeah, some of that was like, mistakes in how to chord it. But they got the chords right. You could hear how they shifted chords because the production was a little bit different. And there were other things. You could hear the pure rage with it. And, later remasters, they re-recorded some of it. And it sounds like shit because they took out a lot of the rage.
But the thing is, so I shit on things all the time. Ask me what I think about Slipknot. Ask me what I think about, Meshuggah. Ask me what I think about Ghost. But I also post stuff that I love, as Jim knows.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, I've spammed you the past 2 weeks with just song after song of, because what I do is, you probably know, I get high and listen to my music, and if something hits me, I post it, right?
Yeah.
But I post a lot of songs I like, whereas he doesn't. But this guy, he made me think a little bit, Jim. He made me think about my life.
Oh, God, no.
And how, yeah, I know. Well, see what happened, Jim, is it made me think about my life, and I realized I met you. So I started biting my fingers off, like those dissonants when they get the name of the papers.
Or like those old cartoons where they bite their nails so hard they rip off the tips of their fingers.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was doing that, and the doctor said if I lose one more finger, he's not going to reattach it.
Yay.
No, but okay, so for those of you who are just tuning in, hi, welcome to the 200th episode. You've missed 199.
Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the living fuck out of it because we suck at promotion. Anyway.
And by the way, listen to several other episodes. Anyway, I am Ellie Lindemood. I am blind, born blind, as in can't see a thing, as in literally, it's not even
eternal darkness, but he doesn't even know what darkness is.
Yeah, it's not even dark. It's like if I were to, as I want to do every day, if I were to poke both your eyes and burst them, that's what you would see. But mine's a little less painful. Anyway, I'm blind, and I've lived my whole life this way. I could have had every excuse to say, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm blind." So I was talking to someone who's not blind, who's not anything that
Yeah.
But he openly admitted to limiting himself all the time because he doesn't like getting out of his comfort zone.
God.
And he was talking about not wanting to get up at 6 o'clock every morning to get a real job. I was like, I had to get up at 5:30 every morning to catch the bus. I mean, this is something I did. It's called responsibility, people.
Hell, one of the central themes of Swine Brothers, for anyone tuning in for the first time, has been telling people, take a goddamn fucking chance. And no, I'm not saying take the really insane ones we took whenever we were fucking younger. But goddamn, you gotta take a chance at getting a decent job. You gotta take a chance at asking for a date. You're gonna be rejected millions of times. You just gotta roll with it and adapt and learn from your mistakes until you finally succeed.
This show is me taking
and yes,
a chance.
Once in a blue moon, you come across someone that never succeeds. But usually even the biggest loser will win a couple times.
And even if you don't succeed, I mean, I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. I mean,
hell, I've been trying to get into entertainment for ages. I was on college TV back in 1995, 96. And, I've been trying to get on, movies, TV, anything, And, even though I've done this thing for free for decades and it's never gotten off the ground, we have a following, yes, but it's not that big. And, it's not like I talk to a lot of people anymore that actually know the show. But still, I keep going with it because, I enjoy the work. It's a good hobby to have. It's fun, I get thrown out of windows and die a lot. It's great.
Yes, he wanted to get entertainment for ages. He was arrested for it many
But
times.
fuck you. But you see, the whole thing is, I may not have succeeded, but I'm still going to go down swinging if I don't succeed ever. But who knows? Maybe when I turn 80, someone needs a fucking old bastard to fill a role. Then I finally get my big break, and then I die 3 months later. But at least I die knowing I succeeded.
I always wanted to do some sort of show or thing, and finally one day I got a headset mic, and I didn't know what to do with it. I think it sat there for a couple of months. I don't quite remember when I got it, but I remember it sat there for a couple of months. Like I plugged it in, and it didn't do anything. So I was like, okay, well, this is too complicated for me. Turns out it wasn't. I was just a fucking idiot. I didn't know settings properly. But anyway, later on in June 2015, I was like, you know what? Let's start a show. Granted, the first episodes were terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Worse than terrible.
They were terrible for years. The very first few, though, God, no.
Well, I mean, yeah, the first episode was like me, Mason. You remember Mason?
Yeah.
Eric, Justin, not the cool Justin, the really weird satanic redneck one.
Okay.
who used to leave his microphone on while he and his family fought.
Okay, I think I remember that vaguely.
Yeah, and it was 2 hours of me going, I can't believe this is taking up space on the internet. I can't believe this is taking up space on the internet. That was literally, I think I said that 10 times. Like, this is the worst show I've ever. And as we got more practice at it, it got better. I joined the Metal Gauge show, which filled me with deep envy, because you and Scott actually knew what you were doing, mostly, sometimes. And I was like, damn, I wish I could be like that show. This show sucks. I even tried to get Scott to get me to join in on Metal Game, but he was like, I didn't realize he was actually about to just kind of end the show, but he's like, yeah, me and Jim have some good going. We really don't need a third. I didn't realize that was actually his excuse to just, I'm not, because he was having a kid or whatever. So, but I was like, man, I need to either get this show. I mean, my dream was to have you and Scott on the show. PTR, it was called then, Political Trendy Radio. That's a long story.
It's a name of a punk song. And people took it as, oh, this is a political show.
Well, so it was the name of my old blog, Political Trendy, because it was the name of a really, really, I don't even think it's obscure. I think it's beneath obscure punk song, but I really liked it. It was by a band called Shocking Grasp on an obscure demo. I really liked it, so I called because Political Trendy kind of sounds like a punk thing, like, fuck Political Trendies. But I called the show that. People thought it was a political show because no one had heard the song.
And Anarcha thought it was all about, like, atheism.
Well,
because, everything has to be about atheism with him.
Well, Anarcha thinks
there is no God. That's the extent of atheism. Moving along.
Yes, and now he shits on atheists, weirdly enough.
Oh, God.
No, now he's jumping
Follow
on
whatever trend there is.
I shit you not, man. He's jumping on the Donald Trump MAGA bandwagon just to annoy people.
Oh, God. I say I'm a conservative because I want to preserve the chaos I grew up with. Which, since it's chaos, you can't technically preserve it, but hey,
That's what I think.
I'm an old bastard.
Anyway, so I got Scott on the show, and it was copycat. I got Scott on the show, and it was actually pretty good. In episode 7, you came up, and I was like, I don't, I never looked up to you, but it was like, you were the big, evil guy who knew metal, and you would say all these cool things. So I was like, oh my God, Jim's on this show, cool.
Yeah, and I just spent, 5 minutes talking about Diarrhea.
Yes, and now I'm thinking, oh my God, worst decision of my life.
Exactly.
Anyway, the show was me taking a chance. Joining Metal Game was taking a chance. Getting a friend to because I didn't know his email. getting a friend to ask King Fally for an interview was a chance. I didn't. I mean, if I was him, would I be interviewed by some random show? I don't know. But he did it, and he was fucking great, and
Yeah.
we'd love to have him back on the show.
But the whole thing is, you gotta fucking put your balls out there, or tits
Yep.
out there, or whatever, and fucking just take a risk every now and then. And it doesn't have to be that big of a risk. You can mitigate it as much as you want. You don't need to do, like, beer bongs filled to the brim with vodka like I did. No, don't do that. That's actually kind of suicidal. Or very suicidal, depending upon your body mass.
What was your inspiration to take chances? I mean, I can't imagine you were always. Sorry, just I can't I can't imagine you weren't always a chance taker. What was your inspiration for getting rid of limits?
I was hit by a car when I was 7 years old.
Oh.
And what happened was my mom had sent me across the street to the store. We live on one of those highways that cut through like the main street of town. Okay, that's where we lived. So like, cars would come down flying, but like you could usually gauge it. Well, on my way back with the chips and bread, I didn't gauge it correctly and I got smacked by a car. I woke up in a hospital and I started getting a bit more, well, I survived this, maybe, and it was some of them were most of them were baby chances throughout the years. There was about a 20-foot high retaining wall they had by the sidewalk to the school where, like, if you climb over the fence, you could have jumped off of it, and I was pretending to be like one of the He-Man characters, and I jumped off it and twisted my ankle and fucked myself up. But, like, several times I jumped off it and didn't get hurt. And that's where my fear of heights came from. Years later, I tried getting rid of my fear of heights by jumping off a fucking bridge into a river, because, I was comfortable with my swimming skills, so I just gotta get over the heights thing, so I just jumped off a fucking bridge into a river.
Yes.
But, I don't suggest people do things as insane as I do, but, and that's another thing, whenever you fear things, you gotta fucking face it, man. You can't just sit there and avoid it constantly. And the best way to do it, shrinks say, is to, slowly introduce yourself to more and more of it. Like, let's say you got social anxiety, you can't fucking hack crowds and shit. Well, you start hanging out with 2 people, then 3 people, then 5, then 10, then 20, Do it regularly enough and you get accustomed to the fact that you're now, hanging out in a fucking major concert with thousands of people there, and it's nothing to you.
Yep.
But, like, you have to, me just diving straight in, that's just me being a bit crazy because I got hit by a fucking car. But, still, any shrink worth their salt will tell you gotta start introducing yourself to your traumas and deal with them. Arachnophobia, yeah, you might not want spiders crawling on you, but, go up to the fucking spider bin at the damn pet store and, just, kind of wade through that, and you'll be less and less afraid, You'll probably still kill them on sight, but,
I don't want to fuck with spiders just because I can't see. So, to me, any wild spider's poisonous. So, I'm just not going to fuck with that.
Yeah, but you have a reason. You're fucking blind.
Yeah. What saved me is, so, we would have this guy come, and he would speak. He was an interesting guy. I guess he wasn't born blind. I guess he got his I guess he was involved in some sort of bar fight where he got like separated retinas or some shit.
Separated retinas.
It's been a long time. Anyway, he got hit with a bottle a couple times and basically his eyes got fucked up. But anyway, and he was always told that he couldn't because he was blind and he became a chiropractor. But I never really took inspiration because he could see. And I know that doesn't make any sense, but the fact that he could see in the past was like, well, okay, but people kind of knew what to expect of you. What really gave me the inspiration to take chances was punk rock and heavy metal. I always liked heavy guitars and stuff, but getting into it, like, bands doing their own records, and then there's G.G. Allen. Now, every time I say I'm influenced by G.G. Allen, people make a shit joke. Go ahead, Jim.
No, why should I fucking go around with eating your own defecation? I talk about it all the time. I opened this show by talking about diarrhea.
I know that was the joke. It's like, wait, I already have. Yeah, go ahead. I beat you to it. So, but I mean that was of course the first thing that leaped out of whenever I heard about him, like, wait, he did what? But getting him more into his philosophy, the fact that he did his own thing for as long as he did, he released his own records. He actually got pretty, and they were good records. Not all of them great, but I mean they had to be, because if he was just a lousy musician who was known for shock value, he wouldn't have fans 30 years after his death, or 29 years after his death. But he did his own thing, and I realized that actually really inspired me to, like, okay, if I want to do something, I've got to do it. And it also made me, you were bullied as a kid.
Yeah.
And you cried about it.
Yeah.
And I did a little crying, but then when I discovered punk rock and metal, I was like, yeah, go ahead. You just don't get it, and I do. I know that's a really cheesy thing to say.
And that's something that really made me stop crying about being bullied, was whenever I got into fucking metal. It was like, yeah, okay. These guys are, I thought Megadeth was actually trying to reach out to me, not just, write a cool song whenever they did Sweating Bullets. But, I thought they were trying to reach out to people like me, and it just felt like it connected and all this other shit. And I just realized, oh shit, all the crazy shit I was planning would have made me the villain, and all the people that bullied me that I wanted to be demonized would have been canonized as saints.
What also helped me is all the crazy stuff that I would talk about. I would meet people, and they would, I have had that too, those ideas too. Let's look at why it won't work. I was like, wait, people aren't just saying, oh my god, he's insane, let's put him in the mental hospital, or make it. I never went to the mental hospital, but I did do 13 years of therapy. Or, oh my god, he's probably even more than that, actually. Or, oh my god, he's crazy, let's make fun of him. It was like, okay, you have these ideas, and I've had these ideas too. Here's why they won't work. Oh, yeah. Huh.
Oh, my God. I remember, God, I still hear it, like, these fucking anarcho-capitalists and shit. It's like, dude, okay, anarchy. There's no system of government. That means everyone has to agree on something. Let me give you an example of something where people should be agreeing upon one set of rules about it, but they fracture over everything and have had wars over it over the centuries. It's a little thing called Christianity.
Yep.
Differing views splintered off. They had wars over these differing views over one thing. There's only one book here, but you can't even agree upon which version of God whenever you have the same God.
Or not even what version, but what
and
rule.
You're expecting people to agree about property rights and shit. And you're expecting corporations not to go full socialist whenever, socialism will actually benefit the corporations, at least in the short term, by having them make so many fucking laws that fucking it's impossible for any small-time competitors to show up so they can monopolize the industry,
Or go full Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the opposite way. But yeah, well, it doesn't even need to be which version of God. It's, hey, we disagree with this rule. No, this rule. So, yeah, no, humans aren't really agreeing creatures.
No, but you're expecting people to agree on all this shit in an anarchist state where there's no government. Well, what the fuck's going to happen there? Well, there's going to be a group. First off, there's going to be a group of people that are going to be too terrified of the fact that there's no safety net, that there's no, police force to come out and they have to look for themselves. So they're going to fucking follow some guy with a silver tongue that's going to promise them that they're going to be protected by them. And like, oh, and now you have a fucking, a band that's forming their own government, and they're going to come out and start taking over your lands. And you're not organized. Sure, you can gather in small groups and shit and maybe offer some resistance, they're going to outnumber you massively because the terrified are always going to outnumber those who are actually self-dependent.
And that's why not just anarcho-capitalism, but any anarchist state isn't going to work, or truly communist state. Because what happens when a guy says, "Hey, I can promise you more," or "I can promise you protection," or you can
As
own
far as
everything.
socialism works, it fails the way it does because you're telling people where they can spend their money. That's it. That's the end game. That's like being capable of getting your own food, your own, things to use around the house, like, your own stereo, your own music, and all this shit. Just all the things you take for granted sitting around you right now. Just having that is like one of the most basic freedoms, and you're taking that away
Yep.
just to make certain other people can get fed because you need solidarity, not charity.
And so you get you have basic furniture, which is probably really old.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you gotta
so
wade through like a line of like God, at least 4 people to get like a fucking cell phone.
now you can't get
To get
now,
a second TV, you're gonna have to file and wait for 6 years. Cars might take you somewhere around 12 years to get a car, even if you have the money to get it.
I actually know how long it took you to get a car. It took you 1 or 2 years. But here's the thing, though. You had no choice. So you went to, I think there were 2 or 3 car companies, and you said, "I want a new car." You had no choice on the color or anything like that. You said, "I want a new 4-door car," and so it's take you 1 or 2 years to get. And again, you had no choice on anything.
And you had to
What?
spend your money on it.
Yep. And you could sell it for used, but only when it had like 10,000 kilometers on it, which in communist countries is really hard because of the roads weren't very good. But anyway, so punk and metal and G.G. Allen and Jello Biafra really taught me I have to rely on myself and just take chances and do things. They weren't, you know, even Metallica didn't inspire me until I heard the early days because, let's face it, they're a bit far from the garage band that they were,
Yeah.
right? So in 2006, you see this huge band and you see all these huge bands. They don't necessarily make you think you can do that, but then you listen to like the No Life Till Leather demo and you're like, wow, these are just kids in their garage just with enthusiasm. They're doing their own thing. But I can do that. Same thing with people starting their own shows. All that DIY stuff really inspired me to try something and to do it. And also the dating thing. I mean, you know how many times I was told no one will ever want you because you're blind.
Oh yeah. No one will ever want you because you're fucking dorky. You grew up in a mental institution. I've heard it all. And God, I can score dates. I could get laid. Fucking shit. I have an ex-wife. So,
Yes.
there's a lot of things that, like, yeah, you're not supposed to be able to date because, you have all these disadvantages. Well, fuck that. And I'll tell you right now, how the hell I scored dates was I was just myself.
Okay, sure. Cleaning the house is a bit hard because I can't see where all the dust spots are.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, just because I don't have eyes doesn't mean I can't talk to people or,
Oh, my favorite was whenever a
or-
guy thought you couldn't bathe.
What?
There was that guy that thought you couldn't bathe.
Yeah, or couldn't dress yourself which is kind of understandable if you think about most blind people have more than just the blind thing wrong with them. Most blind people are, shall we say, incapable of looking after themselves. But I mean, I'll ask like, hey, I want to wear my deceased shirt. Which one is it or whatever. But as far as like, if I just want to slap on a shirt and stuff, I can bathe. I do it at least once a year.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But
Maybe twice if you're lucky.
there's also a guy, well, how do you have sex? It's like, Well,
You
actually, no,
aim for one of the wet holes and go there.
I'm sorry. Actually a girl asked that. What if someone I used to have a crush on until I figured out that she was a very annoying person from high school. Someone asked a friend, "How does he have sex?" And my response would, I didn't have Facebook at the time, so I couldn't say it. But my response was going to be, "Hey, come over and I'll show you." I mean, you asked, for one of the leg hold.
I mean,
It's
it's
not the
literally no different than being in a pitch black room with no lighting. You just
aim for one of the leg
you
holes.
just feel your way through it and go on. You know.
I like aim for one of the
Granted,
leg
I prefer it
holes.
with the lights on, but that's
Wait,
because I like to have more sensory input.
Jim, women vaginas aren't in their legs. I don't know what you're doing, but
Wait, what?
wait,
There,
you're fucking a leg wound?
I'm fucking a leg wound. Da, na, 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 na,
Well,
na.
I thought you said aim for the leg holes. I was like, wait, it's not in their legs, you fucking idiot.
I said aim for the wet holes.
Oh, I thought you said aim for the leg hole. I was like, you anatomy.
Whoever thought you better at turning a screw than me? I'm doing it for my life. Fuck.
What the hell are you doing?
I don't know. You're fucking a leg hole. Just like this gaping infected wound that's just like oozing and bleeding continually for years. I don't know. What the fuck weird idea did you just throw in my head? That's horrific and disgusting. I can't help but to appreciate it.
Welcome to episode 200, people.
Okay.
Oh my god. We've gone off the rails.
What the fuck? And I'm the one that had no sleep, motherfucker. God.
Well, no, I was saying something while you were saying it. So you said left, and I accidentally heard leg. I was like, what the fuck are you
I
talking
said
about?
wet, WET, a wet hole.
Yeah, I heard that,
Which
but
means you'll get either the pussy, the mouth, or maybe the ass if they lube that up for you. I don't know. But there's gonna be a and now you got me thinking about fucking infected wounds and shit. What the hell? This is like a death metal album waiting to happen in my head.
anyway, the point is, people have asked again, why can't how can you dress yourself, or do you need someone to look after you, or whatever? Well, no. I mean, like I said, how do you get sex? Well, I mean, I don't think blindness affects your penis. Maybe it makes it perform better. I don't know.
You just gotta have your own kind of input to go there. You don't have the visual, so you got the tactile.
Well,
And the
yeah,
tactile works just fine.
yeah, and I mean, if you explain what you need.
And you can hear, so you got the voice and sounds, or oh yeah, baby, yeah, yeah.
Unless she's a ventriloquist, then you wind up fucking the alarm clock.
Yeah, fucking the alarm clock. I need up at 8:30. Bam, bam, bam.
This is what
God,
happens.
I just pulled up my cock and it's bleeding all over the place. The fucking glass and
This is what happens when you don't.
plastic and electric wiring. Go, what the fuck did I do with my cock? Fucking an alarm clock.
This is what happens when we don't do a show in a couple of months.
Just all this insanity builds up. It's like, okay, now we need to let it out.
Yeah. You wanted a 200 episode, you got it. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, I've been told a lot of things, or my favorite, no girl will want you because you're over 18 and still listen to metal.
Oh, that's great. You want to know how many chicks I picked up because I listened to metal after the age of 40?
What about the girl that showed interest in me because of my Carcass Reek of Putrefaction album cover Facebook thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand why. I never understood that people. I actually had someone who I used to really look up to in a form, a high school friend, you know, a little bit older than me, was like, yeah, I used to like metal, but imagine being over the age of 18 and still listening to metal. How childish. I was like,
First off, no, that's not childish. Second
yeah,
off, yes, I am childish. And I'll tell you one thing that annoys the piss out of me, and it's people using the term adulting.
yes.
Like going out and working and paying your bills and going to your doctor's appointments you need to go to, going to your court appointments you got to go to whenever that pops up, paying taxes and all that shit isn't normal. Everything that I just think, oh, well, this is just a normal fact of life, you're turning into something special that's outside the normal, outside the things you're supposed to do as an adult. So you have to come up with a special term to fucking denote the normal things you do once you strike it out on your own. Adulting. I gotta fucking slap the fucking shit out of everyone that does that.
And I mean, I understand the idea of it. That stuff's not fun, but it's stuff you gotta do. I mean, even when you were a
Well,
kid.
instead of saying adulting, it's like, oh, I gotta do my taxes today. Or I gotta fucking go out and go to the store and pay my bills. Wow, I'll be back in about an hour.
But even when you were a kid, you had responsibilities. Didn't your mother ever say, clean your goddamn room?
Yeah, I never did, but that's because I had the best role model in the world, my father, who never cleaned up after himself.
See, I got yelled
and
at.
Eventually got so lazy that he shit in buckets and pissed in bottles, sitting in his rotting chair watching Shizer porn. And then he'd pound on the wall. Jimmy, empty my shit bucket! Because he was too lazy to go upstairs and use the shitter.
While you were with friends, too.
I'm there with friends partying in my attic. Jimmy, empty my shit bucket. Empty my piss bottles. Oh, and the best part was his piss bottles were usually usually apple juice containers. So, whenever we started cleaning downstairs, whenever he was in the hospital for about a month, someone had the bright idea to drink some apple juice, and I screamed, "No, don't!" But it was too late, and they were already vomiting.
You know when I said that I was not going to vomit this episode? Although I read a story about the guy about a Canadian band called the Dayglow Abortions, who I'm quite fond of.
Mm-hmm.
And they were touring, and someone actually gave them like a small like tour bus. Anyway, the guy pissed in an orange juice, I think it was, or apple juice or something. Bottle, one of the musicians, and then the next day, someone else found it, and the musician was going to say something, but just started giggling, like, "Does this tastes really funny?" He's like,
"Oh God,
that's because it's not apple juice." Oh God, sorry, man, but of course, why'd you, he left it out there and forgot about it, but. That's a little bit more sadistic to just, kind of just stand there and go, oops, well, there's nothing I could do. God, I can't even imagine what...
Yeah. Disgusting.
And he wouldn't bathe, right?
Oh, no. His version of bathing was wiping on hand sanitizer over his entire body, and he burnt incense. Now remember, he's shitting in buckets, pissing in bottles, so those odors are congealing into the hand sanitizer, along with the really thick incense he'd burned to cover up his own stench.
And semen.
And you have, this rancid semen of him masturbating to all the weird porn he'd watch. I mean, we're talking about things so tasteless, I wouldn't watch it, and I watch some pretty damn tasteless tentacle porn myself,
So did people actually not make it through that? Did people look, I mean,
most people wanted their drugs enough, they would walk past that to get to the attic. There were a couple people, though, that did not, and they ran away screaming into the night. I heard it, and I'm like, what the fuck's that? Now, I think a couple people couldn't make it past your dad. If you listen to screams are like punctuated by wrenching, like they're trying to vomit.
And how good was he as a cook?
Oh, God. Remember, he didn't wash his hands, so...
Yes. Yes.
Oh, man, he made deep-fried grilled cheese. But let me tell you something, okay? That can technically be pulled off if you turn up the heat high enough, have the right containers to do it, and press it in the right way. It can be pulled off properly. But keep in mind, one of the key words I just said there was high enough temperature. What he used to do was just turn on the thing, and the second the grease started liquefying, he put it in. It will if it's just turned the liquid from solid, it's not hot enough to cook anything.
No.
So you have the bread soaking in all this grease. And I told people, never eat anything my dad offers you. We'll order pizza or something, you know. But there was this self-proclaimed useless piece of shit decided, while he was on drugs, that he had the munchies so hard that he would chance a deep-fried grilled cheese. And he ate a couple of them because he said, oh, God, this is delicious. Later that night, he's rolling with his stomach, screaming, I'm going to die. Oh, my God, the pain's too much. I'm going to die. Why won't I die? And like, we're sitting there, because we're all whacked out of our skulls on acid and all kinds of other drugs and drunk off our asses. And we're sitting there thinking, should we chance taking him to the ER and possibly getting busted? Eventually, we finally got concerned enough about his health to take him to the ER. It took a long debate to get that concerned, and keep in mind, he's rolling on the ground complaining about death pain the whole time. But the best part was whenever he came back from the ER, I was tripping so hard I just forgot how to shit. So they fed me laxatives and I'm all better now.
It kind of makes sense in a way to kind of not, because again, he's tripping balls. So you might be thinking, okay, is he just having a weird, bad trip or something?
Well, at the time we're all tripping too. We think we thought he was literally dying too. We didn't know it was just massive constipation. But like, we thought, and so like, we're sitting there debating whether he should die here or we take him to the ER and chance going to prison because we're all fucked up on drugs. And
definitely die here. That's how much your life is worth.
Good.
But again, if I didn't have these punk, and yeah, okay, you could say, well, you spend most of your time on the internet. Well, yeah, I don't have many friends here because most moved away or we just lost touch or whatever. But I'm on the internet talking to people. I'm actually networking. I mean, I would come visit Jim in real life if we didn't live on the opposite side of the country.
Mm-hmm. I'd be taking him out to shows every now and then.
And it's, so it's not like, okay, yes, without the internet, I also wouldn't be but if it wasn't for those guys, I probably would, I'm helpless and I can't do anything. Because what job prospects do I have? I can talk. I know enough not to shit myself in the office. Is that good enough?
I shat myself in the office once. I think that was like one of 3 times I shit myself at work. The other 2 times I was at a factory. Then there was 2 times I pissed myself at work, but that's because I was working flagging and there was no easy toilet to get to.
Yep. This is a mega special episode. This is the piss and shit episode.
Yes.
We haven't even got to vomiting yet. I have some great vomiting stories.
You see, throughout all my years drinking and shit before, which, okay, it was only about like 2 or 3 years I was actually drinking heavily, and I only started smoking pot and shit the year previous to me going to college. I'd never gotten a hangover. The only time I'd gotten a hangover was after my first frat party, because I didn't properly hydrate.
Yep.
And I had drank so much at that party, and this is a night after I ate Chinese, like all you can eat Chinese at the student union. So, at the dining hall, and I'm like, so we're talking college food, Chinese in my stomach along with all that booze, and I feel the urge to vomit. So I wake up and puke all over my chest.
Oh.
Then I flip and hit the floor, and I vomit again because something hit my stomach because I hit the floor, it hit my stomach, and I vomited a second time. Then I did a push-up trying to get off the floor, and I vomited because of the motion. So that's 3 times I vomited. But keep in mind, I'm still trashed from all the fucking booze I drank, and I felt better now. So I went coated in vomit, and vomit all over the floor, and everything, and just went back to bed and passed out. Because I was too drunk to clean up after myself.
What was the smell the next day?
Horrific. I cleaned it up real good. Because my roommate was on... Because my roommate was out that day, and I didn't want him coming back to the place with vomit everywhere.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't. He just walks in, looks at it. Nope.
I mean, maybe he did come back while I was passed out, saw vomit everywhere. I was like, nope, bye. He never said anything about it, though. So, there was that.
Yeah. I'll go sleep somewhere else. You can clean it up.
No, I remember Jeff. God. This isn't a vomit story. This is us being young kids. Like, I was about, 13, 14 at the time.
Okay.
And Jeff was about, 10, 11. And he had stolen his parents' booze. So, and we had, a bunch of chaser, chug it down. And he had also gotten a loaf of bread. And what he would do is he'd take a shot, down some chaser, then eat a piece of bread.
Mm-hmm. With the alcohols.
So the bread's absorbing all the alcohol. He's not getting drunk. Meanwhile, I'm not eating the bread. I'm just taking the chaser, and I'm getting hammered. He's like, you're faking it. You're faking it. He didn't put 2 and 2 together until years later. It's like, yeah, there was that time that you were faking it. Oh, God, no. I was eating bread and killing my own buzz. What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I'll
you
do
got
that
hammered, didn't you? Oh, yeah, I got really hammered.
I'll do that if I don't actually want to get drunk, if I just want to, enjoy it or whatever. But, eat some popcorn or whatever. But, yeah, that, even I understood that, which is why people, I remember someone, I remember the first time I ever got really drunk, and they were telling me to hydrate, but I kept saying, no, man, that's going to suck up all the alcohol, man. Hydration, that's going to suck up all the alcohol.
No, that's going to save your ass.
Yeah. Yes, it will. I can't have a weed gummy without some drinks nearby. My mouth gets incredibly dry, but, I mean, So, yeah, you gotta hydrate, people. I didn't get a hangover till this year, though.
Good.
Yeah, until it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all.
Oh, hey, I got a plan here.
What's that?
never before. Sticks diving and walking like mad. Doing your thing all over the floor. The best time that you've ever had. You're hurt all over but can't feel a thing. Not until the next day. Then you wake up, stiff as a board, and the pain won't go away. Another kick of 50, maybe get some bust and take the train. We'll steal it by the bar, yes, we'll be there ready to thrash. Pit, in the pit.
Alright, that first one was DRI with Thrash Hard.
From the Thrash Zone album. Perfect song about getting in the pit and you have a great time and, you know, you're drunk and you're high and then you wake up the next day and you feel like utter shit.
Oh, God. My body can't hack moshing too much anymore.
Well, yeah,
It
you're
fucking
96.
sucks. But, you know, I still gotta try every now and then.
Yeah, you did try, right? You,
I got exhausted after maybe half a song. I went to see Gwar recently, and the stage crush got me. God, a lot worse than it ever did.
Hey, but you tried it. That's what counts, man. I say if you don't get at least a little hurt at a show or the next day, you don't wake up at least a little sore, you're not doing it right.
I know. The next one was Blood with Jesus Never Lived.
From their first album, which escapes me right now.
Yeah.
Impulse to Destroy. Yes, Jesus Never Lived by Blood from Impulse to Destroy. 1980. Both are actually from 1989, interestingly enough. Both great albums, and please support the music.
Yeah, always go out and buy this shit if you like it.
Especially on Bandcamp Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Because they get all of the, I think every day should be Bandcamp Friday, but for some reason Bandcamp doesn't agree with me. So when I was a kid, so I just let's divert from the shit and vomit. I'm sure we'll return shortly, knowing us.
Yeah.
But let's divert to. So I always liked the sound of heavy guitars, like just anything heavy. If like sports highlights came on the TV and they had some sort of heavy guitar, wow, that sounds cool. Or SpongeBob having like some metal in it, or metalish stuff. Every time that would happen, wow, I really liked that noise before I ever knew what the term heavy metal was. So got into it, and at the age of 11 or 12, I got a limited version of the internet, from the Braille computer I've talked about, and it was, not the most technologically advanced. They couldn't play videos and stuff, but it was, you could research stuff. So I would research, and Guar. I actually found Guar a little bit before that, and they said something about shock rock. So I was like, well, what the hell's if whatever shock rock is, Guar's shock rock, and I want to know more about that because I love Guar. And they're talking, shock rock, of course, is any rock that does some crazy shit on stage. So I was, reading it, and I heard about this guy named G.G. Allen who would defecate on stage and eat it. And I was like 13, right? And I was like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, even like, Guar never bothered me because it was all fake, and I understood it was all fake, and I understood it was all satire and stuff. But G.G. Allen, wait, he did, wait, real? So I didn't look him up right away. I think I stumbled across one of his songs, "You Hate Me and I Hate You," a couple months later, and I looked up his life story on Wikipedia, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy actually, like, I knew death metal guys were nice guys. I knew a lot of punks were nice guys, but this guy did actually seem kind of deranged. 3 years in Michigan for rape and things like that. So I was like, I don't know if I like the song, but I don't really know if I want to fuck with this. Yeah, remember, I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
Basically a sissy. But for some reason, his stuff kind of stuck with me. I don't really know why, but it did. And I discovered more and more of his stuff, and I started reading his interviews. Crazy, I was 14, so I was like, I'm the next G.G. Allen, edgy shit like that. But when I went back to high school, starting out of high school, I was talking about G.G. Allen all the time, and my PE teacher, which is probably my least favorite class in the world.
Yeah.
So I mentioned, I was like, yeah, G.G. Allen. Who's G.G. Allen? So he looked it up. The next day he comes back, you need a better role model. No, I'm sorry. I have to do his voice. You need a better role model, son. How about Rosa Parks? I was like, well, I mean, what she did was, courageous and shit, and I take my hat off to her, but she didn't record any music. Well, how about George Washington? I was like, wait, George Washington owned slaves. How about Abraham Lincoln? I was like, again, no music, and it wasn't the, rebellious spirit. But the voice I'm trying to, he sounds like Pat Robertson, and he wasn't evangelical, and he sounds just like Pat Robertson. It's fucking creepy, to the point where I'm pretty sure they're one and the same. I'm pretty sure I was taught beat by Pat Robertson. But anyway, and all throughout school, elementary, middle, and high school, I was bombarded by the self-esteem movement.
Oh, God.
I don't know if you remember. I
remember the self-esteem shit.
Okay, I was going to say maybe you're too old for it, but yes. You can be everything you want to be if you have self-esteem. And how do you get it? By being me. Or whatever. But what really gave me self-esteem was like, hey, these guys, all these punk rockers, these guys never fit in. These guys weren't the popular kids. It wasn't like, it wasn't like the popular kids who played guitar and everyone fawned over them when they started a band. I mean, G.G. Allen was bullied in school. He was held back here. People thought he was a freak and a nut job.
Yeah, and people thought I was a freak and a nut job. I got bullied extensively in school. I carved out my own place to exist, though.
Well, that's why I respected, past tense, of course, you. Because, I mean, now, how can I respect that? No, but it's all shit. No, but
let's drive away as many people as possible before we even start the main topics of this show. Let's talk about diarrhea.
Fuck off.
You said we'd go back to diarrhea eventually, and I couldn't help myself.
I know you couldn't. No, but that is why I respect you and why I actually wanted you on the show. I was like, okay, here's something different but similar. It wasn't like you were the cool kid. You were the freak, and I was the blind freak who showed up to school one day and said, "I don't believe in God." I mean, when I was like 11 or 12 years old or whatever, but you,
See,
even
I
in a
was never an atheist. God, I always believed there was something higher and all that. And I went through, after, the Lutheran thing, I went through Wicca. Then I went back to Christianity because I went to that homeless shelter.
so I mean, obviously, I didn't know what an atheist meant. I just was like, well, I was too young to understand any of the scientific arguments. I was like, well, science exists, and I've seen more science than God, so I guess I don't believe in God. So I showed up to school one day and said, I don't believe in God, and people flipped. It was like, 'cause I thought people would come to the same conclusion I did. Because, I mean, it was a public school, right? But people flipped, like, oh my God, how can you not, you have to have faith. And I was like, to me it was just like, yeah, I don't believe in God. And now, of course, you think I'm dumb for my thing, and I think I'm dumb for yours.
I like that. Jim thinks Elliot's dumb because of his thing, and Elliot thinks Elliot is dumb because of his thing. That's the way you said it. I'm not repeating it because it would mean. So I had to paraphrase there to get the point across of what you just said.
Well, yes, of course I think
Because
I'm
you weren't
dumb
paying
because,
attention to the words coming out of your mouth. I know what you
well,
wanted to say, but you didn't say that.
yes, but you ruined the joke, which was going to be, yeah, I think I'm dumb for being mine because I believe that you exist. And we all know you're actually just a voice in my head.
That's right. You just spend hours on here talking to yourself.
Yeah, but the scary thing is I can actually hear you when I play it back, but no one else can.
Yeah.
No, you think I'm dumb because I'm the satanic thing, and I think you're an idiot. So, but
Because praise Jesus.
fuck Jesus.
Look, man,
Well,
Jesus got a hole in his hand, okay, and that's gonna come in real handy when you want to rub one out,
he can give a really good hand
You
job.
don't even have to. Yeah, that's like the best hand job because you got that wet hole right there. You just go right down,
Okay, so now we've gone from grossness to blasphemy. I think we're doing good.
Yes.
But,
I incorporated the two together. Gross blasphemy.
But anyway, so for me it was. I mean, I was always just doing my own thing. I mean, at one point in time, I wanted to fit in with all the kids, but they all liked stuff that I just didn't like. So I'm not going to pretend I like something that they like just to.
I mean, that
be
was
accepted.
one of the things that alienated me at an early age. Like, everyone was all about Michael Jackson when I was in grade school, and, like, Madonna, and I just couldn't get into them. I mean, I honestly
Michael'd like to
still
get into you.
think that Michael Jackson's best work was with the Jackson 5. His solo project sucked ass.
You couldn't get into Michael Jackson, but Michael sure got into you.
But I'm bum.
Yeah. So, well, you liked Louis Armstrong and shit, right?
Mm-hmm. I like a lot of oldies and fucking old school jazz and shit like that, And that was until I found Weird Al, and, I mean, originally I got into Weird Al because, like, yeah, he's making fun of the songs that I hate. And then I got my parents actually bought me his debut album. And I was like, holy shit, he's got, like, original songs that totally kick ass, too.
I remember, so we got, because Weird Al's kind of gone between, like, because he had songs on, like, Radio Disney. He did a Star Wars parody and shit like that. So kids buy Weird Al albums and they get, stuff about nipple rings and shit. But anyway, and I was like, so, what? Like, I thought that this guy just did parodies. And we bought one of his albums, and it was the one with Albuquerque on it, which I loved when I was a kid, by the way. Just because everything horrible happened to him. But I made fun of you for that until you showed me one of his songs. I think it was Good Old Days. I was like, oh yeah, these lyrics are sociopathic.
Yeah, it's a song about the a sociopath growing up. Complete, you know. Do you remember
Yeah.
Sweet Michelle? She was my high school romance. She was fun to talk to and nice to smell. So I took her to the homecoming dance. Then I tied her to a chair and I shaved off all her hair and I left her in the desert all alone. Though sometimes in my dreams I can still hear the screams. Oh, I wonder if she ever made it home. Those were the good old days, man.
I mean, I still make fun of you for saying Weird Al.
Yeah.
But
I
of
make
course,
fun of you for your slam bullshit. It ain't gonna go away anytime soon.
Slam's great. Fuck you.
Fuck
And I
you.
love Bad Religion too.
Fuck yeah. Well, okay, Bad Religion's I say
But yeah,
fuck you
Slam's
for your
great.
slam
Fuck you.
bullshit.
But anyway, so I mean, the earliest music I liked was actually country when I was 3 or 4, and I don't remember why I liked it. And then a friend liked the Cars in Matchbox 20. Ugh. So I got into that, and a friend liked it.
When I first started dating my ex-wife, oh god, she had a Matchbox 20. I'm like, no.
I had
No. Here, I'll ease you in slowly. This is Iron Maiden.
wait. It's granted I had all 2 CDs, but I was 7. Okay, I was 7. So anyway, so I listened to them and stuff, and then I got a NASCAR compilation. It's called NASCAR Full Throttle. It was so NBC would use like actual songs on their race broadcast, not just canned music or whatever. And so I was like 7 or 8, and I got their soundtrack, and it had Matchbox 20 and Creed and POD, but it also had Reload era Metallica, Fuel, an early demo of Fuel, right? Now, if you're 7 or 8, that's the heaviest thing you've heard.
For you, but okay.
What?
Okay. We'll roll with that.
I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. They're harsh, the vocals are raspy and it's fast music or whatever. I can't stand it now, of course, but and then it's funny because NASCAR on Fox always had like country music and shit, but their album was metal and hard rock as well, which I think was trying to piggyback off of NBC. I got their album, Crank It Up, and it had Slipknot and Slayer on it. Right now, that was a revelation. Because so Slayer did a cover of Born to Be Wild, which I played on here before, and
Yeah.
I never heard. I didn't even know what a double bass was. I was like, how is he hitting those pedals so fast? I kind of figured what the bass drum was. It was a pedal. I was like, wow, he has really fast foot. I didn't realize it was just double pedal. And then this, you've heard the Slayer screeching guitar solo. I was like, those poor guitars. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And Slipknot, when you're 8, of course, is wow. So I was getting into metal and shit like that. And
Slipcorn. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I went through a period where hell, there's even a few songs I still kind of like from them, but so many sound so similar or are exact clones of their own work.
Oh yeah, we reviewed the first Slipcorn album, and I was like, by the way, can you just confirm really quickly, you did not invent Slipcorn?
I did not invent Slipcorn. No, I don't know who did. I know that my buddy Stern picked it up.
Yeah, Black Knight Meditations has said it, because there's one guy who thinks that I invented it or that I stole it from you, and I just like to clear that up.
No, I stole it from Stern, who stole it from someone else, who stole it from someone else.
And I stole it from you and Mark from Black Knight Meditations.
Yeah.
But
you have to remember, okay, back in the day, whenever nu metal first started hitting this stage, mid-90s, the corporations were pushing it as if it was metal.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
It's complete, heavily distorted alt rock, Even I knew this, okay, and back when I liked a few songs, a few more songs than I do now, but the whole thing is metalheads are like, no, that's not metal, and that's where making fun of a lot of these new metal bands started generating from, because quit it was more like, quit cramming this down our throats like it's metal. It's not metal. Don't tell us it's metal. You shouldn't have even named it new metal because it's nothing like metal.
Yep.
And then you got kids posting there saying, see, it's metal. It was inspired by metal. Well, that's then saying that metal is classical music because some of it was inspired by classical music. What the fuck's wrong with you? It's not classical. Therefore, new metal's not metal.
Venom's blues. Because Venom uses the blues scale. I mean, if you actually dissect a Venom song, it's actually one of the last metal genres to use like the blues scale before Metallica came out and shit. Mm-hmm. So Metallica and Venom are blues. Well, and what amazes me is a lot of the metal magazines, in order to stay current, they champion new metal. And I actually have an issue from '96 of a metal magazine that actually said people assume metal is dead, but it's not. It's just changing its face. You have to adapt to the modern age or you'll get left behind. 6 years later, 7 years later, 8 years later, or whatever, when new metal finally dies and that like kind of melodic death metalcore gets in with actual solos, granted not good, but it was actually solos and shit, they go, wow, thank God we don't have to stop. We can stop pretending to like new metal. So I was like, wait, so you just
same author just switches tunes because that's what the corporations are paying them to do.
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, so I grew up. I was 4 or 5 in '98, '99, but I remember kind of the new metal was so ubiquitous. New metal in that kind of post grunge, whatever you want to call it. Whatever that.
I fucking hated when they tried calling grunge metal. And grunge musicians hated it whenever the Corpse tried to call them metal too.
Yep. but that, like, whatever the hell Nickelback and Godsmack are, that was on the radio all the time. So it was like, I wasn't around, but by the time I kind of got into it to get into the metal scene, new metal was kind of dying. Like, Korn was switched styles and shit, but metalcore was the thing. So by the time I got into it, so it's good to have these first-hand accounts. Mallcore was what everyone called new metal, by the way.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. It's what all the mall trendies listened to back when kids used to hang out at malls instead of sit at home looking at their phones all day, wondering what it's like to socialize.
Yeah, I was out with a teenager, and that's all he did. I was like, really? I mean, yeah, granted, I like the internet, but when I'm out, I'm out. It's like...
God, whenever I go on dates, I usually try to have my date leave their phone, and I leave my phone in the damn car while we go out and eat. So that way we could have, like, an actual face-to-face conversation.
Exactly.
Maybe her hand goes down my pants, my hand goes down her pants, something like that.
Unfortunately, her hand has a switchblade and chops off your dick and eats it. She eats in front of you.
That's only happened once.
Oh, really? Only once? And then you come back to like 30 messages from me saying, fish dick or whatever.
Because you're too stoned out of your skull to know what the fuck you're talking about. So he did the good drugs tonight. That's good.
Garbage truck has tasted human blood.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing. I do know what I'm talking about. See, when I'm high, I can actually have a normal, meaningful conversation, or I could go full idiot. So with you, whenever I'm talking to you, like sometimes hey, he's probably doing something. I'm just gonna send him a random message. Garbage truck of doom. So I can't.
If I'm at work, I'll catch it. If I'm doing something else, I'll catch it later.
Yeah, but the point is, I can't actually control it. And like, oops, did I just accidentally write garbage truck of doom?
Yeah, and then I used the AI to generate garbage trucks of doom.
One's
got a giant pile of gore on the back of a flatbed, and the giant pile of gore has googly eyes.
So look at its eyes.
So it's like this flatbed's just driving a shit ton of gore across town, leaking blood all over the fucking streets from it. It's got googly eyes on it.
Meanwhile, the townspeople are way too traumatized to even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it, Mommy? Don't look at it. For God's sake, don't look at its eyes.
The garbage truck needs blood for the blood gods, and it's sentient.
Oh, it's definitely sentient. That I got that because I was reading about a teenager. This fucking idiot. So there's a teenager in some European country, I think it might have been Belgium or something, who decided to go hide in a garbage can. Now, I mean, who hasn't done that, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is it was trash day, which you'd think he'd know. Like, I know that trash day's Monday. So the fucking trash picks him up, empties the can, and then the guy presses the button to compact it. And that's when the screaming started. Now keep in mind, this guy can't stop it. You can't stop trash trucks when they compact.
Yeah.
So he literally had to stand there and watch this guy get mangled beyond belief. And the caption, because it was a humor website, now there's a garbage truck roaming the streets with a taste for human blood. So I posted that to him out of context, just thinking, ha ha ha, funny, garbage truck tastes human blood. I forgot he's been fucking around with the AI bot for a couple months. Someone showed us that, and he's been fucking with the AI bot.
You're gonna be seeing
AI
something.
bots.
You've been seeing the artwork all the time here,
Yeah, and so I posted that. And fine, you want garbage truck?
Mm-hmm.
But so getting back to what I was saying, and yes, I know we're off the rails, but it's the 200th episode. It's a fucking party. It's a piss and shit party.
Yes. We're just two intoxicated moves, so we piss and shit and vomit all over ourselves, just wallow in our own filth, 'cause we're too wasted to move.
You know what, though? Even with this...
Hey, the disclaimer says we're not role models. We're not even human. We're complete monsters.
Exactly. Anything... The first time I heard that disclaimer, I actually thought it said shot or maybe deported. I was like...
Yeah, well, that's
too.
another possibility that could happen. When you get cops involved sometimes, especially if you're like doing bath salts or fucking PCP, go complete angel dust there, the cops tend to shoot you because that's the only way they can deal with you, because you're too whacked out of your skull, and you'll start gnawing on them if they try to just wrestle you to the ground. You're all fucking roid raged out, man.
There was a rapper in the early 2000s who was wandering the streets of LA howling at the moon, which of course, Jim, you do all the time.
Yeah, I've done that many a times.
But he was on PCP, and when they searched his stomach, they found, I shit you not, they found human flesh. You see, he had kind of devoured his roommate. This is a true story. Mm-hmm. I think his name was Big Lurch. This is a true story.
There were those two homeless guys whacked all their skulls on bath salts. I think it was in Florida, and one started eating the other. And so there's something with bath salts that turns you into a cannibal. You might want to stay away from that shit. Also, stay away from fentanyl. That shit just outright kills you with a small dose.
Yep. Fentanyl. Of course, if we just legalized, every drug, then we wouldn't have people putting fentanyl in everything, and we wouldn't have to worry about this. But
because they'd all already be dead.
Oh, okay.
Let them OD and let them die. And what we should do is take all the Narcan out. Give someone a one-shot free pass with the Narcan. But if you OD a second time after that, you're on your own. You live, you die, you die.
I like how, I'm...
And then we put in more EpiPens into, places, because I'm telling you right now, the guy, people have heard from the day one on TV everywhere that, you can OD on all these different kinds of drugs. You can die from this. So you're choosing to take so much of this drug to get as high as possible, knowing that you're pushing yourself closer to death. Versus someone that just happened to walk down the street not knowing there was a fucking bee nest there and one stung them, and now they're near death. Who deserves the medicine more? The junkie who chose to die? Or the fucking guy that didn't know what the fuck was going on until it was too late?
Yes. Yes, the guy who didn't know that. Yeah, I like how I'm the hippie of the. I'm actually the more peaceful one of the show. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes my actual left wing
Then I
convictions will shine through.
then I just start fucking randomly quoting the hippie version of Jesus out of the Bible.
Well, no. So what I'm saying, sometimes my actual left wing beliefs will shine through, whereas other times. So see, sometimes I want to save this world, and other times I want to just kill everyone. And sometimes I want to save the world by killing everyone. In fact, that's most of the time. But anyway, so the Swine Brothers does not recommend eating a roommate on PCP, but howling at the moon is fine.
Yeah, it's howling at the moon. It's fine.
Yeah.
You could do that sober too. It's good shit.
I need at least a couple beers in me before I howl at the moon.
Yeah, I know. It's sad.
But you know something? Even with all this degeneracy, with all the horrible shit we've been saying, and by the way, just for legal advice, don't do anything we do ever, or anything we say ever.
Yeah, we don't want to go to jail for inspiring,
Yeah, don't do anything
shit,
we
because
do
we can't
or
afford
say.
the lawyers to fight Jack Thompson.
Oh God, fuck Jack Thompson with a barbed wire dildo.
Uh-huh.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly. Anyway, we still have friends, and hey, I'd rather be the degenerate than clean cut. I mean, I'd rather be honest. I mean, you know how many? So I've told you this before, but you know how many people in my, shall we say, chosen writing field who will go to any length to cover up their identity, not because they're writing, super secret government stuff, but they're writing
Smut.
And if it got out that they were writing smart, you might be ostracized.
Because, you're like a hardcore anti-sex feminist in public, but like in private, you want to be degraded that far. And you write porn based off of being degraded that far.
Well, you're either anti-sex or incredibly pro-consent, like everyone has to be all formal and shit. But then in private, you're, yes, make me a drone.
Yes, remove any form of, free will from me, and there is no such thing as consent anymore.
Fuck me, this unit.
Unit 3467, reporting for fucking.
I love when there was a porn about an entire class, including the teacher, were dronified. And drone 49, where's your homework? This unit's dog ate it? Because she was too busy being a slut and didn't do her homework. But I just like, this unit's dog ate it? Like, what a strange thing to say. But anyway, but I mean, I'm honest about what I do. I mean, obviously I'm not going to talk about this like my parents or whatever, but I mean, I've talked about it. And obviously I'm not going to give you all the details of everything I write on here, but I've talked about it on here, and I've talked to Jim about what I do. I mean, I'm not ashamed. I mean, I think it's quite interesting, and it's fun, and it's creative. There's a guy named Mike Machine Gun Edison, who he was the editor of High Times. He played drums for many people, including G.G. Allen, and he wrote about 28 porn books, specializing in first-time lesbian housewife confessions, which all under different names, because of course no one writes under their real name in porn. I was gonna say you've probably seen his books.
Maybe.
But he was always honest about what he did. Weirdly, the porn stuff didn't offend his dad as much as him writing for a wrestling magazine, because wrestling was seen as the ultimate in lower class lout behavior.
Yeah, but porn's a-okay.
I'll tell you.
Including the complete degenerate shit.
Well, okay, fine. You want degeneracy? Fine. I will give you degeneracy. If you ever read a book in the 80s that had a cocaine penis, that was probably Mike Edison's.
Yeah, well, you want some degeneracy?
Yes, I do.
Did 3 years in Michigan.
All right, that first one was the Dayglow Abortions with a little double shot there. First one was Arg Fuck Kill, and the second one was Die Sinner Die.
Yes, they've for reasons unknown to me, they've been combined into one track on all of these CD issues. That's from the Fetus of Fetus album, and yes, the lyrics are literally blah 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 arg fuck kill. It's what I said when I get pissed off at something. Just arg fuck kill. One of the best dumb smart bands I think I've ever heard of.
The second one was the legendary G.G. Allen with the Murder Junkies that time, with this little song called Shove That Warrant Up Your Ass.
From the legendary Brutality and Bloodshed for All album, one of my favorite albums ever. Mm-hmm. It's so powerful.
Remember, kids, become ungovernable.
And of course, one of the things we have to do is get away from this. I mean, so I understand wanting to stop bullying, okay? But one of the things we got to get away from is everything must be peace and love and lovey-lovey. Tough love or learning from your idiocy by hostile reactions is one of the ways that I became who I am. Because when I was 14, so I had used the internet for a couple of years, but I never posted on it because I thought, well, first I thought my brother didn't have the technology to create an account because a lot of them were, visual, type the image you see, and of course it wouldn't play audio, so I was kind of fucked. Mm-hmm. But I also thought I wouldn't really have anything to say or whatever, So I finally got access to a forum called Song Meanings, which most people have used. It's the one where people post lyrics and you talk about the song, what the song's about or whatever. Quite interesting. But anyway, there's also a forum, and I went onto the metal forum. I was kind of in my core and new phase. Like, I love Slipknot, but I was also getting into, like, I had heard Burzum and Cannibal Corpse and stuff like that. So I was kind of in the middle. I went up, and started talking about, so I went into the metal forum, and they said no metalcore, right? And I was 14. What the hell did I know? I was like, what do you mean no metalcore? That's metal, man. You guys don't know, what do you? And I got yelled at for that, and I got called all sorts of names. Looking at it now, I deserve to be called all sorts of names because I was an arrogant little prick. And as much as I thought that these guys didn't get it or whatever, because
I mean that's one thing. I mean, it's sad that I've known people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s that never grew out of that fucking arrogant, fucking know everything about everything teenager phase. Whenever you're younger, yeah, especially, because in my day, I thought I knew everything about everything because A, I had the IQ to back it, and B, I had easy access to a library where I could special order books, and I did so all the time just to study anything, and I read the dictionary cover to cover while I was in the mental institution. So, I'm, king shit, know everything about everything, and today kids got fucking easy access to the internet, can look up anything, so it's gonna fucking be the same thing, know everything about everything, except you only know where to look for information, you don't actually retain it.
So I would have arguments with these people about how you guys are just old, and you guys don't get with the times, and this is just as important. Oh my God. Like, mm-hmm. I can't say it, but I know I have to. This is just this is just as important as death and thrash metal. Oh my God.
You deserve to be slapped with a shovel for that comment.
I know. I was 14. Shut up.
I know you're 14.
I'm sure.
But sometimes a 14-year-old needs slapped with a shovel.
I know, but I'm sure if I met you at 14, I'd be arrested for just. Wow, why did you eviscerate him? But hey, anyway, so as much as I argued, I also went, okay, why don't they think they're metal, and what is it that they listen to? I mean, because I knew like black and death metal existed, and I knew I wanted to get further into it, but I didn't really have access to it. So I said, okay, what do you think is metal or whatever? What I'd heard Burzum, and I'd heard Cannibal Corpse, and I'd heard Metallica and bands like that. But I was like I said, I was still pretty new. I heard Behemoth, but I heard some hardcore, and I was just getting into the '80s metal. But so they sent me stuff, and I listened to it, and just over time, Slipknot just didn't sound the same anymore. Korn didn't sound the same anymore. As I Lay Dying didn't sound, and people nowadays, yeah, well, you changed, because people talk about how like grunge albums have nostalgia for them or whatever, and I say that Slipknot has no nostalgia for me, and they say, oh, you don't need to pretend, man. You can admit that the shitty albums have nostalgia. I was like, dude, if they had nostalgia, I'd be the first to say, yeah, I don't really like that album, but it has a lot of nostalgia. But
fucking Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction has a lot of nostalgia for me. Now, counterpoint here is that Metallica's Black Album was also one of the albums to get me into metal. And I can't stand that shit anymore. And I'll tell you why. My tastes changed. So there's no nostalgia for me in music that I think totally sucks. But there's at least some merit to it, or if it's good enough, or even better, if it's good music, like fucking Slayer Seasons in the Abyss, that's nostalgic and totally kick-ass.
Jim, you put on the Misfits, and oh my god, I'll be singing along, and I'll be like, this reminds me of the time where we did, the Misfits, first off, great band, but also totally nostalgic. First Danzig album, holy shit, that album, first off, it's good, but there's a lot of feelings I have for it about, various things we did.
And
Slipknot,
there's various things I did with the fucking, Metallica Black Album that
and I remember
kind
those
of
times.
dissociated with that, because there was other things I was listening to at the time that I now associate with it, because the music just sucks so bad. I might remember something if a song comes on, but I don't like the song.
I can't get into it. I can't get into Slipknot. We reviewed Metallica's Black Album, and we reviewed Slipknot's album and stuff like that. There's some Pantera songs that I can kind of feel nostalgic about, and I think Trent Kill's a beast of an album. Fuck you, Jim. And I do legitimately love power metal, and even the early glam stuff is fun. But I just, over time, I would listen to Slipknot and go, you know what? I'm not hearing what I thought I was hearing anymore. Yeah. I would listen to Blink 182 or Green Day after listening to punk rock. Yeah, I know I need to be hit with a shovel, whatever. And go, you know what? This doesn't sound punk anymore. It never sounded punk, but you know what I mean.
You see, I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, there's two types of people. One, they'll say that their musical tastes change, and that's why they're no longer into this, that, or they got out of metal or whatever. Their musical tastes changed. The other ones are like, well, I grew up. Well, those people that say that they grew up and that's why they don't like it, those are the ones pretending to be adults, even though they're in their 30s and 40s. They're still stuck in that childish mentality. They probably use that term adulting. God, you fucking slap the fucking bulldozer. God.
Well, because I remember one. Well, yeah, but I'm not adulting. I'm watching cartoons or whatever. I'm such a child. I was like, Jim watches kid shows and shit from when he was a kid. I've watched kid shows. I've went out from watched them again just to
fucking
see what,
shit. I watch anime, like a lot of it. Wow, that's all cartoons.
Yes, and that's why he lives in a basement.
I don't live in a basement. I live in a decrepit trailer that should have been condemned 6 years ago.
Ah, okay. So still a typical anime fan.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I don't even say my taste changed. I think they evolved. I think it was more of just an evolution. Just things happen over time, and and especially because now that I found metal, it's not going away, and I can still get as excited for Kill 'Em All as I could in 2007 or whatever. But it has incorporated more. I listen to power metal and stuff like that.
I used to worship Master of Puppets by Metallica, and and now it's like, yeah, it's still pretty kick-ass, but I love Ride the Lightning even more now. And that was a song I thought was, and that was an album when I was a kid I thought was like just okay, but and had a couple kick-ass tunes, but now except for what is it, Fade to Black or whatever.
I didn't really like Peace Sells at first. I mean, I liked it, but first off, I got the remastered. But second, I was expecting it to be really fast and shit, because I'd heard how fast the first album was, Killing of My Business, and I didn't know anything about Peace Sells, so I was expecting it to be like, warp speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it wasn't. And I was like, well, I like it, but it's classic. Finally, a couple years later, 2013, 14. I hear the unremastered version, but also my taste, evolved, and I was like, what, this, I mean, just somebody was complaining about the long solo on Wake Up Dead, okay, and I that used to bug the shit out of me that they took like 5 minutes of a 3-minute song to do a solo. Nowadays, I listen to it and I hear like a guitar war. It's like Mustaine and Poland are trying to kill each other with the guitar.
That's a good way to put it.
I'll be honest. I didn't really like Rust in Peace at first. I mean, I liked it first because again, the remastered. I liked it, but people said it was a thrash classic. I was like, what the hell are you smoking? I mean, I could think of 100 different albums.
Then you finally got around to listening to the repressing after your music taste mutated, and
you mean the original?
Yeah. The original pressing, yeah.
I understand. Well, okay. You said repressing. I was like, what?
I thought I said original, but okay. If I said
I understand this original. Now. I understand it. And the album blew me away. It was like, wow, there's so much technical power and shredding, and so yeah. Tastes of all of it. I don't like Puppets quite as much as I used to, but I still really like the album. It's a really fun album.
Yeah, and it's not like the Black album where I can't fucking listen to it,
Yeah, well, I mean, I can listen to a couple songs. The faster ones.
I'd rather try to avoid it, but if it comes on the radio, whatever. I mean, hell. And it's like, I can't... I like a lot of different genres, but I'm very picky, so the number of musicians I like are very few within each. I mean, there's a lot more within metal and classical than there are, other genres, which are like maybe 1 or 2 bands or maybe even 1 song.
Whereas, I mean, with, it was just weird. Like I said, I still love Kill, though. I still love Kill 'Em All. I still think it's a fantastic album.
Oh, Kill 'Em All kicks ass.
And Ride the Lightning, it has I think 5 or 6 classics on it and 2 not so classics. Escape and Fade to Black.
Yeah.
And fuck Escape. But things change. But so the point I was making about the forum thing is, granted, I think I probably shouldn't have been allowed on the forum in 2008. I was 14. Whether I should be allowed to post on the internet now is a matter for debate. But the point is, people showed me what, Dark Throne and bands like that, and over time I lost interest in Slipknot and Korn and Black Album and things like that, because I thought they were really heavy, and they weren't as heavy anymore. So I didn't think they were that good songwriting.
And,
so
people change more than just what their tastes are. They change in like their outlook in life as different things confront them, and they do different things. Like I talk about the times I sold drugs on my dad's attic. I don't sell drugs anymore. I don't even do drugs anymore. I seldom drink.
But nowadays, I see people using the same arguments I used to use, and I use the same arguments that the people who yelled at me used to use. And I had one of those existential moments where I was like, "Oh my God, I've grown up."
Mm-hmm.
Like, just one of those moments where you're like, the cycle is complete.
Mm-hmm.
It's come full circle, because I'm saying the exact same thing, and that's weird. But again, if it wasn't for the tough love thing, I probably would have, or if it wasn't for the people being pretty aggressively dismissive of my idiocy, I would have probably wound up like the kid who we know who sticks to Pantera and Metallica and a couple other bands, and doesn't even know who deceased is because why bother looking?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Why bother listening to someone else's music?
all
You
the
know.
good stuff is on Liquid Metal or whatever, or Metal Storm, which is a mainstream metal site. You know, if it wasn't for those people, I maybe would not have discovered the underground. And you know what the underground's been? It's been a damn lifesaver.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so thanks to all the people who were, you know, I thought dicks to me 14 years ago, but they were actually doing me more help. I mean, I said this before. I think they did more, and Gigi Allen did more for my self-esteem than the self-esteem movement.
And the self-esteem movement usually leaves you so weak and rattled because you need to be surrounded by sycophants all the time that the most minor amount of criticism, even if it's well-founded and constructive, you deem it like this huge amount of, like, abuse because you're just so used to people kissing your ass all the time. You don't even know what a real friend is. And the worst part is, the more sycophants you surround yourself with, the more people that are going to be there to backstab you and just so they could social climb. Because that's all sycophants are. They're not there to actually be your friends. They pretend the part just so they can use you to advance themselves when it becomes convenient to throw you under the bus.
Yep.
True friends have this thing called loyalty. And some of the things we do for loyalty are, we call your Elliot a useless piece of shit. In fact, let me open the window right now. I have him as one of the admins on my thing here. And his thing is, he is a useless bastard.
Yes. Yes.
That's the title I gave him as an admin on my one server on fucking Discord. He's the useless bastard there.
Yes, which by the way, everyone gets a big kick out.
Yeah.
Whereas, how many times have I told you, "Oh, will you stop the fucking whining"?
I know.
Whenever you're like, blah, blah, whenever you go through something like, yeah, things will, and it's like sometimes I'll, yeah,
You'll
I
let
know,
me
but,
go for about 15 minutes for like, okay, now you had your fucking cry, shut the fuck up and get back to work.
Well,
right, I gotta do something, like eat babies or something, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I've also said before, yeah, but you've done a really good job, I mean, considering, so I can give you positive and negative.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, you've done a really good job, now stop being a
And we
baby.
poke fun at each other all the time, and usually over weaknesses or just random death threats to each other. But, like, there's that sense of loyalty there where it's like, it's a joke,
Yep.
I mean, he threatens to backstab me all the time. I know it's coming.
Well, yeah.
Well, actually, it's never gonna come because not intentionally anyway.
Don't put me in charge of your. Well, you keep saying I'm gonna be in your cult, so I have to backstab you.
Well, okay, yeah. Once I get the cult formed, you're my blind prophet, and we are gonna have. And after you get the followers to follow you in the desert for 40 years, we're gonna have our little holy war over which version of dissident aggressor is better. Is it the Slayer cover or the Priest original?
Yes.
And we haven't decided which of us is going to take which side in that yet, but we know what the war is going to be about. And it has been foretold through my blind prophet to my followers who have followed him through the desert for 40 years. Because I made certain to sabotage the car so that way it would keep driving in circles.
This makes total sense, but maybe some weed will help.
Yeah.
You know what frightens me is, so, I mean, weed's legal in California, and I have access to it again. Jim doesn't smoke, and he comes up with this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm completely sober. In fact, I bought booze 2 weeks ago. I still have yet to drink it.
I mean, this terrifies me. Just the mere fact that he can come up with this stuff sober. But that's why he's great, because he can. I remember, how many times has the kid looked at your AI and would your creations and like, what are you on?
And you see the paths I take. well, you can't, but other people on the server can, and they're like, "Holy shit, that's fucking awesome!" But it's like the most warped, sick, twisted thing you've seen. It's like a level of disgust and warping of reality that would put a lot of the old school death metal album covers to shame.
Nice.
It rivals like H.R. Geiger and Berserk, the manga, and like how warped and twisted it is.
But again, I mean, all this started because I took a chance and went on the internet and posted some asinine comments, and then taking chances by talking to the people, talking to older people who were in bands in the 80s. I mean, I had a lot of friends in 80s punk bands when I was a kid. No, I don't mean like, they were just internet friends or whatever. And I was a precocious kid, I would just talk to anyone. But again, I just talked to them. I didn't, and I found a group of people who understood me.
I will tell you right now, the first time I was on TV, actually the first few times I was on TV, I suffered a huge degree of like stage fright. But I forced myself to power through, and then I became one of the more beloved characters on Fright Night Theater, and I kept doing the recurring bit where I go to hell and get kicked out, so I kill myself again and go to hell and get kicked out because I annoy the devil. I keep pissing off the devil with how stupid I am. It's great.
Yes, he does, people.
I think one of the skits was like, "Don't be like the devil's saying, don't be like Jim. He's
like
not
Jim,
right
kids.
in the head."
Jim's a little weird.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, so the first time we interviewed Ryan from Decimal Disgorge, I was shitting myself almost because I was like, oh my god, I basically just cold emailed him because I saw his email on Metal Archives and was like, Intestinal Disgorge is a really interesting band. Let's see if we can get him on.
That was kind of the first couple interviews we did where it's like you were really starstruck, and it took me to calm you down because me with my TV experience, I got to bump into actual celebrities. And yeah, when I first started doing that, I'd get starstruck if I really liked their shit, but after a while, it's just like, I just start talking to celebrities like normal people because, they are normal people. The ones I associate with, not the yuppies you fucking see, having huge sing-alongs because of the fucking lockdowns and shit, going, look at me, we sympathize with the common man. No, you don't. You're sitting in a mansion complaining about problems rich people have. We all hate you. You disgust us.
I was incredibly starstruck when I was about to interview King. But the thing is, we did like a dry run because he wanted to make sure Skype was working, and I was incredibly starstruck until he said hi. And he just, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. He just has a way of putting you at ease and thinking like you've known him forever.
So once we started swapping stories, that's when that connected. But me, it's just like, we're interviewing some guy I know very little about. So, let's just do this. But you know a lot more because you are into deceased and shit, so.
Well, yeah, but I was starstruck until he said hi, and then it was like, just the way he talked was like, oh yeah, what the hell am I starstruck about? He's just this guy. Not that he's not extraordinary, but he's just, he's just like us.
Mm-hmm.
Just, in a cool band and
actually doing things in his life.
Well, yes, and hopefully, I still want to get you and him in a video. We're going around your hometown, like Halloween shit, and just seeing you and him together. Why is half of Pennsylvania destroyed?
It's like that, cutscene they would play on fucking Rampage. The old school arcade game where you'd see the monster just land right on one of the states and then they punch it and it turns a different color. So he just lands on PA, punches it, and turns a different color, and that symbolizes all the things that were destroyed.
Yeah, but then you just see you and King just laughing. There's this desolation. You and King are just laughing like you've had the best time ever. Just picture cars toppling over in the background. There's like explosions, and you'd. I'll tell you well, not the scariest one, but the most nervous was Dale Patterson. Sadly, my microphone was fucking up. I didn't realize it was, and I've replaced it. But that one was really nervous because we had done part of the interview, and then you had to go to work, and I had to do the rest of the interview myself. So it was like, oh God, I'm going to be just talking to someone by myself. I don't have a buffer or anything. Just talking to some famous guy who I've spoken 2 words to by myself. Oh my, pants shitting scared. And then I started it and it was like, you know what? This is really fun. So, yeah, I was nervous. I was incredibly nervous. But I was even kind of nervous when I joined Metalgate because I didn't know whether or not... I knew Mason was there, so the standards couldn't have been too high. But I didn't know who you guys were or whatever.
But this all goes back to you slowly expose yourself little by little, and eventually it becomes like second nature to you,
Yes, and now, I mean, if a famous metalhead jumped on the chat right now, I'd be, hey, how you doing? We're in the middle of a show. Want to join in?
Yeah, really? Cool.
Sadly, they won't, but wouldn't it be cool if they did?
Mm-hmm. Well, first we'd have to ask,
Yeah.
Do you want to hang out with us losers? We're only losers because we attempted and failed. We're not losers, we're not complete failures because, we at least tried.
I
continue to try, and then we sometimes succeed a little bit.
I wouldn't even call us losers. I think the real losers are the ones who don't try. I'd much rather be someone who tried and failed than someone who never tried at all. Like, I remember talking to someone and they said, you know what? I've always wanted to make a movie. And my first thought, without even having to think of, why haven't you? Well, no, don't give me excuses. Why haven't you? I mean, okay, yeah, you couldn't make a box office smash, but come on, you can make a movie.
You could film yourself performing all roles, doing stupid skits.
Yeah, well,
and people will pay you good Patreon money for that.
Jim's
if you're good at it.
Jim does 2 hours of TV. Well, actually, more like 40 minutes, but still, you could have easily made a movie.
Mm-hmm. You just need to get a cheap-ass fucking $20 camera. Hell, use the camera on your phone.
Exactly. There was a movie called Dare to Dream, the Alan Kolicki story about 1992 NASCAR champion Alan Kolicki. It was made on a budget of about $500. And so the audio's weird. All the racing sounds are basically stock. They don't even sound like cars even. And, like I said, no budget at all. But I can't hate it because A, the script's actually pretty good, but B, they did it. I mean, they actually made a movie, and actually the script was really good. It's weird. I can't.
Probably better than anything coming out of Hollywood the past decade.
See,
or two. I mean, fuck. I recently, Disney bought the rights to Bleach, and that was like one of my favorite shows. Well, now I'm not going to watch it because I have not given Disney a single dollar since the late 90s. The last 2 good movies I saw from them were like Mulan and Beauty and the Beast. Okay, their live action shit was really starting to rank it up. Stink like horribly, because it was all just live action remakes of cartoons or fucking or they remade another thing, so they just started the remake phase with their live action pretty much.
I'd almost sunk the studio.
And then they put out Pocahontas. And I was like, well, even the animation division's going to shit now. Because it was just like brain dead fluff.
I can't say anything bad about Pocahontas because one of my friends is an Indian, and so she really liked that they had that. So I'm legally not allowed to say anything bad about it, or
I will. It was brain dead fluff. There are better things out there. Yeah, I know.
Okay, well, by the way, for everyone, that was Jim saying it, not me. So you can put a satanic curse on him.
There we go.
But no, what was I going to say? So I can't call it a bad movie because yes, it's bad in the sense, I mean, like I said, the cars don't sound like cars. I don't know what the images are, and you know, the audio's bad, the acting's not very good, but the script is actually really good. It actually really got him. So it's hard to call it a bad movie. I also read a book about. I'm sure you've seen the movie The Room before, or at least heard about it.
I've heard about it.
It's an interesting story. I mean, the guy was completely inept, but he made a movie, and people enjoy it for its bad, and it is terrible. It makes
It's horrific, and you should laugh while you watch it because it's just that bad.
I
don't even think it's that bad. It's a good movie. It's just a lesson in horrible everything, and that's what makes it funny.
Well, what amazes me is the guy who made it, honestly, like, he plays along with the whole, yeah, it's a comedy, but in his mind, he thinks he's made the greatest movie ever. And you know what? I love that. That's the kind of delusional I can support.
Yeah.
Is that, but yeah, I think you should all, and you know, there are bad movies that suck and probably should never have been made, but you know, someone's like, well, I always wanted to make a movie. It's like, make one. I mean, again, it won't be box office, it won't be, big budget, but make one. Go ahead. Maybe.
I say you could just film yourself on your phone playing all roles,
or get a couple friends to go to the freaking party store.
Mm-hmm.
Get some props, and you know what? If people like it, maybe it will open the door for something else, or maybe it won't. But the fact is, you do. I mean, I remember being impressed when you said you were on TV. Not impressed that you were on TV, but the fact that, hey, you did a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You did a thing, and I like that. You had an opportunity and you did it, rather than just, well, I've always wanted to do something.
And the opportunity is a lot easier now with the fucking internet, because you just upload the damn video.
Yep. Or if you want to do a little more professionally, you can get it on a streaming site, or make DVDs of it or something. You can. It's effects are cheap as shit now.
Mm-hmm. And you don't even need like the best effects.
That's what I find amazing about
you can use all the freebies that are like half decent, or you even go for the low budget looking ones that are also free.
That's what amazes me about The Room is, first off, the guy pissed so much money away, but he did all this before. I mean, you can get. I mean, if you're willing to pay a little bit of money, not even that much, you can get pretty good effects.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to do the low budget thing, again, there are a lot of free stuff, but the fact is, I mean, do it. Go ahead. I mean, I've always wanted to write an album, or I've always wanted to make music, so I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
My dream is that maybe I'll have some fans. Maybe I'll have a couple people say, hey, you know what? That's pretty good.
I only got a dozen people that watch this show every now and then.
I also want 50 Ferraris, but that's another story.
You owe someone 50 Ferraris?
No, I said I also want 50 Ferraris.
Oh yeah, well, you could break the law and get them,
Oh, yeah, that's an idea.
I'd like to see you try it, though. I just carjacked someone and start driving away. Let's see how long it takes for them to wreck into everything, and then the car is totally destroyed.
Well, you heard about the guy in the Mustang? I think it was like a McLaren, maybe. He bought it for like 30 seconds and totaled it because he decided to drive it at like 180 miles an hour.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, he's going to wreck it because he's blind, but watch his luck when he carjacks himself a self-driving car and he just tells it where to go.
Self-driving car, run over that laughing man.
Exactly.
Oh, God. Okay, now back over him. Okay, now run over him again. Stop! What are you doing? He doesn't even have bones anymore.
Dun 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 dun. Oh, all right. Let's change the version of insanity going on here for a bit.
Okay.
I wish my mind would just slow down to a slightly moving crawl. I've seen the terror and watched the dead molest my loved ones gone. With death so pale, these ruling monsters will leave their mark on me. As I lose my edge, I realize something's got to give. For a man that fears both life and death, what is to be done? Insane from knowing what awaits an outcome negative. A skeleton that's incomplete, a human shape of fear. Thrown to the powers of death unknown, unfolding before my eyes. And with my prayers unanswered, they'll leave me for the kind. And now I know, without a doubt, that God is just a word. A grotesque greed has devoured the land. Mindless, yet it's also control. In all my years I never dreamed that Earth would come to this. Man no longer power, creature living beneath the sun. My shelter's gone, I'm all alone. Living death in my secret world. In all my years I never dreamed that Earth would come to this. Man no longer power, creature living beneath the sun. It's on my search for heaven, shows me that it's out there. No faith, I learned that religion never was waiting for me. No emotion, no feeling, no cares at all. I'm drained of my only pure life, and sorrow claims the soul. There's little hope and endless pain, leaving me broken and weak. Death light in trance, I'm quickly fading. Oh God, you forsaken me. These are tears of a beaten man, and slowly wear my face. The seeds of doom may slightly alter, the outcome the same. This lonely tale just keeps repeating in circles without an end. A rotting well filled with creatures from hell, existing human style. I feel all alone in my plea to die and never return again. The need for flesh and malevolence is something I fear to come. Then someone or something grabs me and pulls me from this pride. I suddenly feel unafraid, safe and so alive. Is it over? Did the torture end? What's happening? Please tell me.
All right, that first one was Dark Funeral with Hail Murder.
From the Diabolus Interium album, or however you say it, the 2001 album. It's very good.
The second one was Deceased with Unhuman Drama.
From Fearless Undead Machines, and that kicked my ass when I was high the other day. It came on and I saw things, man. The blind
It's
person
always
saw
good when
things.
you see things. I always say, if I would have met you back in the day whenever I was still just doing and selling drugs, I'd have just kept feeding you so much acid until you could see. But then the whole caveat would be like you could only see when you were on acid.
By the way, really quickly, buy those albums.
Yes,
Again,
buy the albums.
especially fucking Deceased. Man.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he started a heavy metal band in like 93 or 94 when absolutely nobody cared about heavy metal. You know, trad metal.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about playing for 10 people just because he loved it so much. So, yeah, well, but the thing,
we've all been to those shows where there's only like 10 people there.
there's kind of two schools of thought in there. One is play like there's 1,000. The other is get those 10 to leave by being as obnoxious as possible. And you know something? I respect both. I mean, if a band puts on an amazing show for me, you know, for me and a couple others, that's awesome. But if a band tries to annoy me and try to get me to leave, I love that. But the caveat would be I can only see in like 65 dimensions. So I would see like 65 of you in your various forms, and oh my god.
And then
Jim.
my final boss form. Dun 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 dun.
But somebody once said, you know, I really envy the person I went to high school with because he's a successful real estate person. And I said, yeah, and what about his social life? I mean, how often do you think he spent having fun, or how often do you think he spent kissing ass to be in polite society? I'd much rather be, I mean, personally, I'm glad I had the strength to live my own life. And
you see, there's this fad going on now because the kids finally discovered the thing that us old schoolers knew for years. I mean, yeah, it took me a while to learn it, I'll admit. But, you know, the kid, what we knew was you put in, they call it quiet quitting. Like, you know, Yuppies always got to give some name to shit. But I call it, this is how you're supposed to work. Because ever since they stopped valuing company loyalty, way back in the 70s and 80s, you know, there was no point in putting in extreme effort to do the best job you could. Now, all you gotta do, because you're just an easily replaceable cog in the machine, like any other socialist society. You could be plopped from one place to the other easily replaced. So you fucking just go to work, fucking do the minimum effort, and go home. You don't need to take your fucking work home with you. You know, and we've been doing this for years, and the kids just discovered it, and, you know, the Yuppies got to give it a name.
I also understand, if you have kids and things like that, you have to do, you know, but at the same time, like, you know, my family, you know, would talk about going to the work Christmas party, right? And they would complain about it. And oh my God, I don't want to go. And I was like, so you're doing, I mean, if you don't go to the Christmas party, maybe you won't be, promoted, but you're not going to be fired. They won't fire you for not going. You might not.
You do not have to associate with a single co-worker outside of work. In fact, I advise against it in 99% of the cases. 1% of your coworkers might actually be cool, and you can actually hang out with them, but 99% of the time, these people have such divergent personalities that it will not mesh well outside of work.
Right, but you're not going, unless you have just a really shitty boss, and I think you can even sue for that. If you get fired for not going to a Christmas party, I think that's breaking some law.
Yeah.
You know, unless it's stated that you have to. So, but just, oh my God, I don't want to, you know. I was like, so you're doing all this stuff that you don't want to do, that you don't technically have to do. I don't want to be like you. Like,
and you want to know why they're doing it. It's not just, you know, for the advancement opportunities. It's also for the social status. Fuck social status. This is why I say I'm fucking gutter slime. Fuck that social status. I would rather just be myself, hanging out with people I like hanging out with, bullshitting with people I enjoy bullshitting with, drinking with people I enjoy drinking with, instead of going to these functions where, like, I hate these people, I want them dead, but I have to act like I'm all nice and shit. Fuck, why the hell do I need to extend that past the 8 hours I already work? Fuck that. If I feel like calling a coworker a piece of shit, I'm going to call him a piece of shit. You know, when I clock out, because I'm not trying to cause any cohesion, cohesion. No, that's the thing that we want at work, sort of. You know, just enough so that we can get the job done, you know.
That's why I brought up Mike Edison, because he wrote 2 books about his life. One about his adult life, and the other about him growing up. Which actually, the adult one came first, and he's done a lot of stuff. I mean, and it's really entertaining. His books are "I Have Fun Everywhere I Go" and "You're a Complete Disappointment," which by the way were his dad's last words to him. And he was talking about his dad, and his dad was a ridiculous social climber. Like, he would, you know, he disapproved. I mean, he wasn't a big fan of Mike Edison editing Screw, which was like a hardcore porn magazine, porn and like politics. It was basically, you know, sort of like Hustler was, but he really hated Mike being at Main Event, which was a pro wrestling magazine in the 80s, because wrestling was seen as the ultimate. I mean, porn was seen as, you know, as low, but wrestling was seen as the ultimate redneck trash, and he wanted to be Mr. Social Climber. And it's funny because Mike actually developed a liking for classical music, and was thinking, hey, my dad, you know, goes to the orchestra, whatever. I can talk to him about it, right? Because they hadn't really gotten along, like, ever, because his dad always found ways to, you know, nitpick at him and basically tell him he was a failure. And by basically telling him he was a failure, I mean literally tell him you're a complete failure. What an asshole, huh? Mm-hmm. But anyway, so he goes, calls his dad on the phone, and they're talking, and it's like, yeah, I saw a classical thing. I don't remember I don't know any classic, but his dad said, oh, that's, I don't like him because he's very atonal. And Mike said, wait a minute, but Beethoven's atonal. And his dad goes, no, he's not. There's no atonal in Beethoven. Turns out his dad didn't know a damn thing about classical music. He went to the orchestra because that's what you're supposed to do if you're a high society person. You're supposed to go to the orchestra and, you know, sit for Friday. He didn't know. And
just stick your nose up in the air, looking down at everyone as if your shit don't stink. Yeah.
He didn't know what the hell he was listening to. Whereas Mike actually liked what he was listening to and would talk about it, and, you know, and would actually dissect it. And he said something about, you know, a room having really bad acoustics, but it was a legendary room, which you're supposed to not speak ill of, but it had really bad acoustics. And his dad, you don't know what you're talking about. This room has amazing acoustics. He didn't know what the hell acoustics were. He was doing it specifically just to show off and be, hey, look, I'm Mr.
I am the world's greatest.
Yeah, whereas Mike was actually like, yeah, I'd like to actually hear what's going on, but this room sucks. So and you know, Mike had a lot of issues because he was trying to be the good boy and impress his dad, but that never happened. Whereas I just did my own thing. But, you know, they made me think about that. Like, people pretend so much, and I think this society also kind of frowns on having a passion for things. I mean, you've seen the kid. When I talk about, you know, when he talks about music, he likes some metal, but he's not a metal, you know, he doesn't love it like, you know, like we do or whatever. Yeah. And I think it's more, I think he's more
what society. And the thing is, you just flutter around from one thing that's popular to the next thing that's popular, and then and go from shitting on one thing that's hated to the next thing that's hated, just following the herd and other cow in the mix. Whereas that's just fake as hell and has no personality of their own.
Whereas I got into, well, you got into even older stuff, but, you know, but I got into 80s music, which was, I mean, recorded before I was born. It didn't feel old, though. It never felt, I mean, you know, Louis Armstrong, yes, I use that on purpose, felt ancient to me. Like, you know, this music, but
Yeah.
And even stuff from my youth, from like the '90s, felt ancient to me. But punk rock and metal seemed so fresh, despite the fact that by then, you know, most of them were dead or grown up or whatever. But I got into '80s music, and I mean, '80s music, '80s. Not when I say '80s music, I don't mean the popular stuff that's made a comeback. I'm talking about obscure ass 7 inches and demos because I just loved it. And well, yeah, I like metal, but like, why do you want to get all those old demos? And I'm like, because I mean, why wouldn't you?
If they're awesome, you get them.
I mean, when I got Deceased, the first thing I heard was their first demo. I don't remember if it was Evil Side of Religion or Birth by Radiation. I get those confused. I think it might have been Evil Side of Religion was the first demo. And well, yeah, I like the album, but why do you want to? I mean, it's so weird. You want to look up, all the demos and stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, the demos you can also hear what they became. I mean, you listen to like the Metallica, you listen to like Metal Massacre.
Why the fuck? I mean, even as a kid, I was like, why the fuck would I sit there and say I like Michael Jackson when the music makes me want to vomit? But because all the other kids are into it. Yeah, but it sucks.
I was never that. I mean, I kind of wanted to be that kid, but then I'd hear what they were listening to is like rap and stuff, and I didn't get rap.
The rap thing was like most of it's vomitous. Like there's like 2 or 3 artists, occasional songs that come out that are okay, but other than that, most of it's just like a vomitous wreck.
The closest I got was Green Day. My sister was into it, and she was like 13 or 14. I was like 10 or 11.
Now, I will openly admit, I went through a phase where I got bootlegs of different albums that I didn't really like, but I knew chicks liked. So I thought, maybe I could get some tail off of it, and I never got tail off of that.
That's sad. Even I wasn't that pathetic. But so the closest might be Green Day, because Green Day was around the time like American Idiot or whatever, and I did kind of like it because it was kind of rocky, it was rock and stuff. And so I was like, okay, there's rock that's popular now, and it's kind of hey, they say fuck, I'm 10, right? That's like the edgiest thing you can do at the age 10. Oh my God, they told the president to fuck off or whatever. So that was kind of the closest I came to kind of being mainstream. And then I torpedoed it by getting into like the Misfits and Dead Kennedys and Danzig and stuff. And by like middle school, I was into Green Day for maybe 6th grade and part of 7th. And I'd say by the middle of 7th grade, it was over. And I started talking about Jello Biafra, and I got into like political shit.
I won't tell you one thing. There was this one chick that fucking hated Slayer, but dated me because I was so passionate about it.
Well,
I'm sitting there saying, "Have you heard Chemical Warfare?"
look at the Christian girl, and she couldn't stand most of my music, but she loved my passion. She was like, but the thing is, people think I'm weird. I mean, I
think that's one thing that's got to be beaten. Yes, you got to be yourself when you're looking for a fucking date, kids.
See, you're not even as bad as I am, because I mean, you'll listen to an album, or whatever, but you know me, I'm like, wow, I love this band. Let's see all 22 of their albums or whatever,
See, I used to do that, but then I got way too busy because I have to work a job. I got to do all this other shit, so,
And now you have me as well.
Yeah, and now you're feeding me new shit every now and then. It's like, oh, cool. And sometimes I will go through and see what the hell else the band offers. Or
somebody said, oh, so you don't have a life. And I'm like, I do things. I go out. I write reviews. I write stories and stuff. It's not that I just look up music. A lot of the music that I'm showing you, I looked up these bands 10 years ago. So it's not even like I'm discovering. I mean, I don't really discover new music anymore. It's more like people show it to me. Like I don't have the time to go through. Do you fucking know how many metal albums are released every week?
An ungodly amount, because we got so many in the underground.
Yeah,
there are just like 3 kids getting drunk in a fucking garage somewhere, and they did something that might sound cool, or it might suck.
But because I spent that many years I can give you Archgoat's complete discography, and plus, let's be honest, I know of every legendary band. I don't think I'm bragging at that point. You know my collection. So,
Yeah.
but so now that now that I don't have the time, I've already done it. You know what I mean? So now it's like,
And back in the day, that's what I did, But
exactly.
then whenever I started not having the time, I had to rely on other kids to feed me new shit. And then the kids started feeding me shit that sucked because they were all in the new metal. I'm like, well,
And,
fuck you.
and usually if there's a new band, they have one or two albums out, so it's kind of easy for me to explore. It's not like I generally don't listen to those black metal bands that release 8 albums a year, because let's face it, if you do that, it's most likely shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I like and I mean I still discover music, but I don't do what I used to do, which was like I said, look at all the new releases and look at all the old stuff, and I know of all the old bands, and if someone will drop some, like, hey, I think you'll like this. Oh, thanks. So now I've slowed down a little bit, but again, I mean, I still have all this stuff that I like showing you.
I mean, it's also like the same thing with like video games or any media I consume. I got very picky because I've not so much time, so I try to listen to what's the best, or at least good. Or play games that are good or I find fun. If they're broken as shit, like Goat Simulator, that was broken as fuck on purpose and it was fun as hell.
I mainly keep up with bands I already know, like Mastic Scum and Goat Whore and Seeks released albums a couple days ago that were just amazing. I kept up with them. If a band I really like that I haven't heard of yet has released an album, I'll know about it soon. But I don't have time to go looking through all of the new albums and stuff. So that's why I'm in those servers on Discord, because people know what music, they know what I like, and they can send it to me, and I send it on to you. So it's, but
I know that. And, back to the other shit, I'd watch like 18, 19 movies a week, play like, 6 or 7, go digging through bargain bins even when it came to video games, and just fucking play everything. And now that I don't got the time, I just sit there, listen to people I can generally get an idea of, like, if our tastes mesh, listen to them talk about shit. It's like, oh, okay, I'll check this out then.
Yeah, I mean, it only happened yesterday. Someone said, hey, have you heard this yet? And I was like, no, I have. Oh, you'll love it. Yeah, you're right. I love it. So,
I mean, hell, I saw, even with anime, it was like, I just a couple years ago, I got into Overlord. And, I just got done watching this last season. It's fucking amazing. And that's because, I was listening to someone about it. But then, I'm listening to these kids cry about this Goblin Slayer having, like, this really traumatic scene. Don't watch it because it's got a traumatic scene. And it's like, I watch it, it's like, oh, the goblins rape people. So the evil guys do evil things. Okay. And that's why the kids are crying, because they can't hack seeing evil guys do evil things.
I'm glad.
And, the evil guys doing evil things, and the evil guys are the ones getting slaughtered left and right. So,
Yeah, but
you can't
I'm
have
glad.
good versus evil anymore. Okay, I get it.
Well, you can't just not too evil. It has to be evil with, with an F, basically.
Well, you can always justify murder or theft. You can't justify rape.
But I'm glad I had those years to really delve deeply into it, and now that I have the knowledge, I can share it with people. And of course I'll never stop exploring or getting into new stuff. But again, I mean, I don't mean to brag, but again, I've heard all the classic bands. I mean, yes, there are 100, maybe 1,000 classic bands, but how long I've spent on this. So I've heard basically them all, and I haven't heard everything they've done yet, but I've heard a lot. I've heard all the classic, and so I still look for new albums, and if I find something I like, then I'll send it. I send it on, and vice versa. Now TV shows, I don't even know, because I don't have the time. But someone will hey, you might like this, and send it to me, or games I'm even worse at because I have no idea what's going on in the game industry, so I have to rely on Jim, and that's how I got into a magical diary.
As well as Fallout.
Yes, but I
The
had to
good
choose
ones
magical.
are fucking awesome.
Yes, and the bad ones, admittedly, are hilarious. God, I want to do magical diary high.
Oh god, we'll do the sequel. It's supposed to be the boys' dorm this time. That'll be like your first exposure to it. You're ripped off your ass, and I'll try to do voices again.
Well, that's
at any returning cast, I'll do different voices just to fuck with you.
Well, that's like earlier this year. We did a thing where I don't remember what, it was like a breakup simulator. We did another one which was like a joke dating simulator, where the joke is the girl always dies, but I didn't know it was a joke, and I was drunk and high, so I was like, "Is this happening?"
Yeah, it was.
Is this happening?
And the guy was trying to get like all pretentious already with it, but he even recognizes, yes, I sound pretentious as fuck. Because it's the way I view things, but if you're having fun, I don't give a shit.
The when they cry one, well, yeah, it was high. The when they cry one was really fun. I like that. That would have been fun to read.
The breakup simulator. Oh god, it was supposed. The whole thing was it was supposed to be this huge political message about don't stay in abusive relationships, girls, because there could be verbally abusive ones where like the guy just like shits on you all the time, but all the options you're given to reply are like the most yuppie of yuppie responses.
Yeah.
And the guy is just being pure yuppie. So it's two yuppies dating.
Yeah.
In other words, never be a yuppie.
Yep. I didn't really have any sympathy for either one.
Which is why you don't do that whole entire polite society. Let's go to all these social functions with people I hate. Just because I need to get the social status for blah-de-blah-de-blah. No. You don't need to go to the work mixer. Fuck that shit. Go fucking hang out with your friends.
Or if you
don't have any friends, go start making some. We got an internet here. I mean, it's not that hard to bump into a forum and start bullshit with people you can actually get along with.
Yeah.
And if they only exist online, you can always do a voice chat with them.
Well, and maybe you'll find people who live near you, or you can move to near them, or whatever.
Yeah, there's lots of options here.
Use
your imagination a little bit, and don't get stuck in yuppiedom.
Because
yuppiedom is just going to keep you stuck exactly where you are, because you're just a stepping stool for people to step on.
If you're going to go to a work mixer, just drink like so much that you pass out.
No, or you could do what I did.
Yes.
Which was. I drank so much, I puked on my manager, and I still had my job the next day. Of course, that was the day that, like, I had just gotten married, and, kid and all that, and I woke up in my dad's bed for the first time in several years. And I'm like, okay, this is my dad's bed. What the fuck happened last night? I look over, and there's my wife, just, her arms are crossed, she's tapping her foot, all pissed off at me. It's like, oh, fuck, I got that hammered. And I found out they took me to my dad's house. They didn't know where I lived, so they took me to the last residence they knew. Which I was just sitting here thinking, okay, wouldn't it have been funny if my dad no longer lived there, no one that knew me lived there, and they took me there anyway?
So when you saw her, were your first words like, "How you doing?"
Yeah, pretty much. Hi, hon. How's it going? We're gonna have a talk. No, we're not, because I got drunk. and she let the fucking riot act go from there.
Because see, that would be my first thing. Is like, "How's it going?" And then hopefully the second.
Because I already knew I was screwed, so. I just said whatever the fuck came to mind first. I already knew I was screwed.
Hopefully the next thing would be like a punch in the face. How you doing? That's how I'm doing. Or waking up in a hold while you're being pissed on by an elf.
I own you now. You work for me.
Oops. My favorite part, and I was not
You
just
weren't
being
pissed
an idiot.
on by an elf. You were pissed on by a gnome, by the way.
No, so, well, whatever. Anyway, my favorite part, and this was actually me in character. This wasn't just me being stupid. Was Black Metal turns to Damiel. So we're even, right?
Not even close.
What a stupid idea.
Yeah, it was dumb. I'm going to go poison a water supply with absolutely no plan. Just going to dump hallucinogens there. Somehow I snuck up and started dumping them in. The guards took one look over. Hi. Get up!
When you said, well, you know, there's a hold on you, I was expecting her to murder me.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't planning on her murdering you because it would be more in tune with her nature to have another steed should the last one expire because you accidentally framed him. And
sure.
the steed does a lot more for her than what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'm sure.
I did have him tell you that, yeah, you're learning why you don't fuck her off. Oh, yeah? What'd you do? Well, don't talk about that.
Oh, God. This is a Pathfinder stuff, folks.
Yeah.
This
Good
is what
old
we do.
D20 tabletop.
But the point of all this is with all this degeneracy and vomit and diarrhea and pissing your pants and stuff, I mean, we've lived a life. We took chances.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want it any other way. I mean...
Exactly. Let's have one more moment of fun here.
Okay.
All right, that first one was Pestilence with Bacterial Surgery.
Yes, from I believe Consuming Impulse with Martin Van Drunen, one of my favorite vocalists on vocals.
Yeah, cool. Ah. And the next one was Blame It on God by Deicide.
From Serpents of the Light, and I believe both were produced by Scott Burns. One of the and again, both classic albums. And so one of the things that people were talking about was somebody said to me I was either autistic or had no filter because I was talking about how, I wrote smut and things like that. And this is a person who gets banned from groups repeatedly for getting way too personal. And I don't mean writing smut. I mean talking about, way too personal shit. And what they don't understand is I have a filter, of course, as everyone, as most people do. I just don't really consider that worth filtering. I mean, it's something I do and something I enjoy doing.
There's certain people you can only show certain sides to. You don't want to give them all. Especially if it's like a huge public forum where you have no idea who the fuck's on the other end. You know,
I'm not going to get personal, but I mean...
Worst case scenario, you're in a room filled with yuppies, and they're just looking for any reason to fucking bash at you so they can feel better about themselves for 35 seconds.
But I mean, I just don't consider it worth filtering. Whereas, personal stuff I'm not going to talk about unless it's in private messages, and then only to people like, who I trust. Mm-hmm. But I just never really considered that not having a filter. It's just something I do. But I think people consider it weird, I guess.
I think the thing they find really weird is that you're actually being honest about things. When a world where everyone just lies about everything.
Well, that and I remember, and also, well, it's not even just in public life. They even do it with their relationships. Nurgle from Behemoth asked a guy if his wife has ever farted around him, and he's like, "No, what are you talking about? That's gross." I'm like, "Wait a minute, but they're married." It
had to have happened at some point.
I mean, it might be unpleasant, but. And Nurgle's like, I don't even go to the, if he sleeps in or late or whatever, and his girlfriend comes to the door, he doesn't, go to the bathroom to change or whatever. Just, hi, here, I look like, half-eaten beef. I just woke up. Hi, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I think people should be. I mean, like I said.
The main thing is, there's this huge thing like don't be yourself when you go look for a date. Well, that's great if all you're looking for is a one-night stand, but if you're looking for something long-term, the masks are going to have to come off. Totally, because they're going to start finding out shit about you, and you're going to wake up divorced and owing like half your paycheck.
Well, and you're going to find out stuff about them because they're not being honest. Charlie Brooker said it best. You both exaggerate yourself or change yourself, and you both wind up falling for, different versions of who you really are. And then when the real person comes out, that's why. I mean, I don't come out and say, I listen to music about dismemberment, but I'm I like death metal, blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna hide it,
Mm-hmm. But it's like, fucking shit. You just deal with so much falsehood. It's like, why? so I can look like a pretty good person, to everyone else, and they accept me. Well, why? Why do you have to go through these hoops to be accepted?
I do have a joke
Whenever it's better just be tolerated off in your own little corner, and those who accept you are going to form tighter bonds and actually have that thing called loyalty.
because they can't stand to be alone, because they're afraid of being alone, because the whole thing is, oh my God, I don't want to be alone. And also, I'll say this: if you're in a shitty relationship, or if you're having trouble, it's okay to be single. There's a lot of headaches that can come with relationships.
Mm-hmm. Being the wrong one, things go disastrously. I know. I lost everything. The marriage, at the end of my marriage, I was homeless. Was forced to give up rights to my kids because I didn't know if I'd ever stop being homeless, because this is in the middle of the '07 recession. So I didn't know if I'd ever be able to get a job again at the time. I didn't know if I was going to starve to death or not, And I didn't want to put my kids through that, so I had to give up my rights to my kids. So I lost everything, including rights to my kids. That's how bad a relationship can go.
Someone was having a difficult relationship because the person on the other end turned out to be a manipulative bitch. But he was really sad about it and was like, well, but you guys always made it sound, like relationships were amazing. I'm like, yeah, they can be, but honestly, if you're not cut out for it, or if, there's a lot of headaches that come from it. I mean,
step 1 is be yourself. Step 2 is take a shower, brush your teeth, and brush your hair. Okay? Or at least, if it's short, then keep it short, whatever. But, take care of yourself. And step 3 is take care of yourself again, but this time in the more, get yourself a fucking job. Yes, it's 8 hours of doing shit you don't want to do with people you don't want to be around. But, that's how you get a fucking paycheck. With that paycheck, you can start doing things like blow it on a girlfriend. And you want to be able to budget yourself too, so that way you're not overextending yourself. Okay.
Take a shower.
Yeah, I got to say take a shower, because there's guys out there saying, well, I should just be au naturel and everything will be fine. No. You got to at least take care of yourself at the base minimum. Take a shower, brush your teeth, and brush your hair. Put on a decent set of clothes. I got my work clothes that get all splattered and shit. They're just cheap fucking dollar store t-shirts with pockets. Then I got my fucking death metal t-shirts that I wear out, that I keep in decent order, so that I have something nice, clean, and presentable to wear whenever I go out on my dates and hang out with friends and shit.
But like I said, if you're not cut out for it, if you're in a bad relationship or whatever, like I said, there's a lot of headaches that come with it. You have to be ready for it, and if you're not ready for it,
that's a huge part of step 3, taking care of yourself with all that other shit. So it also means taking care of your own mentality. Depression's crushing you. You're probably just going to bring the whole relationship down, even if it's a good one.
Well,
so you might need to get some counseling, or at least try to change your outlook on life or something.
Well, and some people are just, happier being independent or whatever, but being alone, or sometimes they're just not ready for one. I remember after a breakup with the good Christian girl, I entered into a relationship, but I wasn't ready yet, and I didn't have I didn't admit to myself that I wasn't ready for it yet, and I blew a really good relationship by basically being too distant. So I was like, wow, I should have been single.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready for that yet. So yeah, there's things you can do, but it's not the end all and be all. And that's a lot. That's another thing that I think the incels or whatever, Elliot Roger, that we don't talk about. We always talk about what you can do to get a relationship, but also they fetishize the idea of being in a relationship. The idea of being with a girl or being with a guy or whatever as this magical, you have to do this to be a successful person in life.
Don't do it for the status, God.
Well, don't do it for the status or to feel like you have to do it because, if you're not into it, don't do it. And again, it's not going to be all I love yous and passionate sex. There's going to be arguments and.
Yeah, and you have to learn how to deal with the arguments and, how take your. I mean, rule 4 is man cave. Okay, if you move in together, even if it's just a little corner in a room somewhere, you want a man cave that you decorate yourself because she's probably going to take over the rest of the house. So you want at least one area that's all you. That you can take a nice little, 2-hour vacation whenever things get too heated or you start feeling burnouts. That way you can refocus yourself. Or, have a guy's night out where you're not going out anywhere. You're just sitting there drinking at home. People are going to pass out in that little corner or room or basement or whatever,
Yeah, but it's all give and take, just like every relationship, even with friends or girlfriends or whatever. And you have to, like I said, yeah, if it works out, it's a great feeling. But there's a lot of things that I say are great that people haven't tried, like weed. Weed's great. But people, I don't know. But that's another thing is, like I said, the whole Elliot Rodger thing. It felt less to me like he wanted a girlfriend, and more like he was fetishizing the idea of being with someone.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, yeah.
It takes to the next level by redistributing the wealth. Well, if you view wealth as poontang.
Yeah, when I was 14 or 15, I thought how great it was, but and I've been with people and it's fun.
When I was much younger, there was a huge. I think I did fetishize it a little bit, but then I realized what it actually took. I realized, fights do happen, so you gotta fucking, learn how to navigate that, so you can come back later and figure out what the fuck happened, because you're. Usually whenever you get into an argument, you're both wrong. You're both right, you're both wrong. And it's just different elements. And then
Except for me, of course, I'm always right about everything. Which I'm sure she will agree on completely.
As she fucking slaps you around.
I'm gonna see if she listens to this. Just to see what she says. Yes. No, yeah, you're both right. I've seen it before, where I was like, wow, okay, they both have some good points, and then they're both idiots.
Yeah. So,
but like I said, it's like any relationship, even with friends or anything else. It's, it's two people being together and being, things are going to happen. You can have arguments all night, even, and. I remember when I was 14, I didn't know how the love thing worked, and I'd see people argue for all night and then get back, kiss and make up. I was like, wow, how come that didn't end it? Oh yeah, because that's how people talk. Yeah. And not even romantic. We've had arguments that lasted for a while where you thought I did something stupid and I thought you were, even stupider.
Yeah, and it was real deathmatch time, and then oh yeah, that was stupid.
and
then we just shrug it off and continue.
Wait, so it's not real deathmatch time? Oh, I should have. What am I supposed to do with this power drill?
I don't know. I put my chainsaw in the closet. I still say chainsaw dueling should be an Olympic sport.
Gas-powered, of course.
Oh, yeah, definitely gas-powered.
I guess one guy... I was reading a story about one guy who was living in a condemned apartment, and for some reason he wouldn't leave. He was offered alternate accommodations 12 times, but he wouldn't leave. So on the last day... And by the way, this place is a shithole, right? This is condemned. This is a bad apartment. But for some reason he wouldn't leave. He was the only one left. On the last day, he put his fucking neck under the table and set his chainsaw and decapitated himself. He'd rather kill himself by chainsaw than leave his shitty apartment. I mean, I like where I'm living now, but I might move soon, and I mean, that's kind of sucks.
I
But
need to go buy myself a new trailer if I ever hit the lottery. Just plop it on the same lot and then have this thing torn down for spare parts.
before you move, I'm going to cut your head off with a chainsaw.
And I'm going to cut your scrotum off with a
Wow.
spoon.
Cut it off with a spoon.
Yes.
That
No,
reminds
no,
me
no,
of,
no. A spork. Sorry.
Oh, yes, Spark. Well, hey, I was gonna say it reminds me of South Park when Cartman's trying to kill Kyle with like a fucking wiffle ball bat. He's like, "This is gonna take a while."
I still sit there and ponder the biggest existential question. How much effort and pain would be involved with teabagging someone to death? Just keep using your testicles as the weapon to beat them until they die.
You think they'd? I mean, do you think they'd bite him or something?
No, you fool. They have to sit there and take it. 'Cause they're too stupid to realize they're dying.
I still want to know how humiliating it must be to be killed by a double dong dildo.
Oh, God. That was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah, I know it was.
I beat so many people to death with a double dong dildo. They called the military after me. And then I tried to drive away, but they arrested me. They didn't kill me, they arrested me. So, like, you could just imagine that trial as you're sitting there waiting to be processed for bail or anything. It's like, yeah, you're forbidden from ever going in an adult bookstore.
He did what?
Yeah, he just ran into the police station with double dong, started beating them to death, then beat random pedestrians to death while beating the feds to death. Then he beat a few soldiers to death, and then we arrested them.
Imagine the military report. Okay, we need to marshal the troops. Why? What's the threat? Is it terrorists? Sort of. This guy's going around killing everyone. What, with a machine gun, with bombs? What's up here? Well, we have footage. Would you like to see it? Well, sure. I mean, it'll give you. That's not a machine gun.
That's the Pleasure Master 2000.
That's not a machine gun at all.
It's the Pleasure Master 2000. Whap, whap, whap.
Dear God, he's unstoppable.
I'm unstoppable. Wait, I'm getting arrested. Why? Why? It was fun.
But again, with all the degenerate stuff, I'd rather be me than, some guy who has to, kiss ass while his bosses get richer.
Exactly, and hell yeah, my bosses are getting richer where I'm at, but I'm putting in my 8 hours and going home. Fuck that homework shit. If I got a meeting gotta go to, I'll go to the meeting, but I'm not gonna fucking sit around and, try to pretend to like people that I'm neutral to.
Yep. I mean, and that's what punk taught me, is just be yourself and have, don't limit yourself. And
You'll find greater joy in life.
Because I followed who my teacher said was the wrong role model rather than following, fucking George Washington. But, because I followed someone, like that rather than
a yuppie.
Yeah, I
and usually they either push you towards historic figures that may have been like actual decent enough role models despite their failings, or they push you towards complete yuppies, especially contemporary today's age yuppies.
I mean, and I respect the historical figures. Don't get me wrong. That's not my scene. My scene is G.G. Allen and Dead and Seth Putnam and Philip Biafra and people
and
like that.
My thing is never be a yuppie.
Never be a yuppie.
If you are one, stop being one. Try to rework your brain so you're never a yuppie again.
Yes,
and it's going to take a lot of effort to do that, because once you get yuppie beaten into you, it's near impossible to beat out. Once you're conscious of it, And you realize all you're doing is putting on a mask 24/7 because you have to constantly hang out with people you don't like because you're never yourself. You're always the lie. You're always the mask.
It's sad to see people turn into that, though.
Yeah.
People who they start out as, say, punk rockers, and then they're going to school or whatever, but they feel like they need to socialize in order to be accepted at their law firm or whatever they're going, and then slowly they turn into the very thing they used to hate, and they don't have enough, sense to realize what they're doing, so they become the exact person they used to hate, and then it's like, well,
You're no longer a real person. You're a yuppie. Yuppies aren't real people. They're nothing but a huge seething collection of falsehoods, just to make it look like you deserve the promotion, deserve the place, get more social status. Fuck social status. I'd rather fucking sit there and have my friends laugh at me because I shit myself again.
And again, I'm sure you've had friends like that who you thought were cool, but turned out to be, and some who,
I flirted with becoming a yuppie when I was married, but that was because I was more terrified of the fact that my past might have my kids taken away from me. And as much as it pains me, I think having my kids taken away from me just showed me that going yuppie was the wrong route to take.
Well, and
I shouldn't have even flirted with it like I did.
And I also know people who are respectable but still have that wild streak in them, or at least still, they did it their way. So that's, I respect that. Just,
That's one of the reasons why we keep a lot of names of people that are still alive out of things. Because, we realize, hey, you're doing something else and you don't want to be associated with that stuff because you're trying to keep your job. Fine.
Yes.
But, whenever you're hanging out with us, and then, we're talking about the good old days or we're talking about some other crazy shit,
But, I've seen a lot of... And, yeah, now I lost my train of thought because you mentioned shit. Now all I could think of is diarrhea. Thank you. Well, not being a yuppie, as we've said before, doesn't mean, living in a, dumpster. It just means be your own self.
You only gotta fucking do shit to, pretend to like people for 8 hours out of the day, maybe 12 hours if you're working 12-hour shifts at a factory. But, once you're home, just fucking be yourself and hang out with people you like, do the things you like to do. I mean, sure, you still got the chores and all the other shit. Don't sit there, call it adulting. Fucking, it's the normal shit you're supposed to do. Mow the lawn, wash your dishes, cook for yourself, take a shower.
Take a shower?
Yeah. Some people call that adulting. I don't know why.
I can't do that. I'm blind for some reason. I can't take a shower. I'm blind. Actually, mowing the lawn is something I definitely can't do.
Oh, yeah, I know you can't do that.
I mean, I can.
The useless piece of shit, after he sobered up, he got a lawn care job. And one thing you gotta know about lawn care jobs is, one, they will send you out right after the rain stops.
Yep.
They'll expect the job done while the grass is still slick on a steep ass hill, and the grass is long, because the contract is to only cut it every other week because the company wants to save money. So while this was going on with him, the lawnmower slipped on the slippery grass, and fucking the lawnmower came back and hacked off his foot.
Oh, Christ damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I understand that. Make certain the grass is dry in your own yard, or at least, you're not going to slip.
Oh, no, I
if you need to, use the fucking weed whacker on the hills, because that's the ones with the wire on it, the little plastic wire thing on it, not the ones that have the metal blades.
Oh yeah, a friend weed whacked his ankle.
Whenever you weed whack the steep hill, because,
my friend once weed whacked his ankle with one of the metal ones.
Yeah, that's going to hack you up.
Yeah, it didn't cut anything off, but it surely cut it up. I was going to say the reason I can't mow is Why did you run over the baby? I'm sorry, I can't see.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
yelled. You heard the babies. You heard the kid scream, and you yelled, "Run, bitch, run!" I'm sorry, I can't see.
Dun 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 dun.
No, of course, there's things I can't do, but there's a lot of things I can do, and I
Yeah.
can shower and dress myself and shit.
And clean
Clean-
up your own living area a little bit.
Yeah, I can't, like, dust and shit, because I don't know where the dust is. But I can
Yeah.
do stuff, and, and...
Well, dusting's a little bit easier, because if you get a spray shit, okay, you gotta be able to ID which spray shit is spray shit, because you don't want to be spraying Raid on it. Okay, I see the problem there.
Well, the only problem is with me is I never know how much to spray. I don't know. I usually spray too much or too little. But I can if someone tells me where. But I can dress myself and shit like that. And order stuff online. Going to the store would be kind of hard by myself. I mean, with someone else would be easy, but by myself. Why did you buy fucking cat food? Cat food? I thought it was Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Looks like we're eating cat food, kids.
Why don't you wait? Yeah. Oops.
Oh god,
Sorry.
there was a fad for a while where like rich people would like put on like makeup to make themselves look homeless, wearing
Yep.
shabby clothes, and
Yep.
they'd go out and do things like shoplift fucking cat food, the wet cat food, because it helped make them look more pathetic, and they were just trying to get a free meal out of the deal.
G.G. Allen had a thing he called. He would basically put wet dog food on bread, and he goes, and remember this is G.G. Allen, someone who's eating his own shit. He goes, yeah, you gotta eat it fast or you're gonna puke. I was like, okay, well, wet dog food is apparently worse than human feces.
Yes. Apparently.
Yeah, this is someone who's you gotta eat it fast.
Oh, God. Oh, yes. And on that note.
This has been the Swine Brothers Show, episode 200. We'll do more soon, people.
And we're getting back in the swing of things.
Yes, we'll be back to regular scheduled programming. You can email the show at cosmicgodsdie@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment and like, subscribe, and share.
Share the fuck out of it, because we don't know how to promote. We suck at it.
For the gym, I am Elliot. So long, folks. Fuck off.
You ever just want to grow up to be Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal?
I think it's too late to get high.